content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
Yo, what's cracking, man? I'm GG, man. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, with no chasers, man. And this is impromptu, man. I ain't even planning on doing this, but the spirit kind of moved me, so I'm gonna do it anyway, man. Before I get things started, I want to give a shout out to all the members of the Green Gorilla channel on both the YouTube and the Patreon side of things, and then I'm gonna get things started, man. Just before I do any stream that's live, man, I'm always going to shout out to people who support the channel. So, shout out to Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Michael Ross, Lord Hamal, Apex Prowler, Ezekiel Will, Naomi Gary, J. Cleveland Green, The Toxic Masculinist, Brotherly Love 215, Pulpit 28, Lee Ways, No Sleep, Broken Blade, Mr. King, Larry R, Seth Sun, Devon Ridge, Afro Troop TV, Show Me, Spain Man, Ben Cannon Kenton, Seven Coast Dojo, Anthony Davis, I'm Just Jules, An Honest Look, Sherlyn Woe, Ricky Dawson, Stefan Julius Ferguson, True 7360, Mr. Me Too, Call for President, Superman's Cape, Gold Professor, AKs and Curtains, H-Town, Roguish the Billmonger, Adrian Thomas, Electrician 480, Bingo, Cutting Up with the Jones, Zanco, D. Scott, Path Guy 74, Pete Rock 496, Aaron Peters, Marnolis, Dardar, Vincent Lindsay, Beautiful Trauma, Quiz the Poet, Black Wizard 80OS, Jazz Deck, Shadow Observer, Sugar T, Artisan MC, Troy Warren, Mrs. KP Bailey, Alan Wiley, The Face, Life of Commerce, Dream Lit, Timothy Blewett, Jeffrey Speed, Marvin Battle Jr., Adam, BGS Ibmore, Ignatz Mouse, Brian Peace, Scott Haywood, Black Uru, Dr. Tree 33, Leroy Honeycutt, 77 Base 6, Brian McMurray, Karen S., Charles Rogers, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Charles Gilmore, Greg Berry, Little, Mr. Valentino, Cameron 87, Dr. Rock, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donna Watts, Coach Hotep, Old Soul Chief, Mr. Blue Collar, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, MLR, Universal 178, Rasheed Barnes, and Aaron Smith. Also, DH, Red Pill Revelator, A Double, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalon Chakala, Hostile ADEP, WPR1, Force Windu, David Carroll, Kevin Samuels. Also, want to give a shout out to the people on the Patreon side, Passport OG, JEK, Chris Flowers, Christopher Burton, Daxby, J Live, Rashawn Phillips Surles, Keith Bass, Nick, Albert C., Dr. Ben Vincent, I Am the Light of My Father, Waffle Weave, Tyrone Hampton, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi Momal, and Asangwa. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Thank you so much for supporting the Green Gorilla channel. If you want to know how you can support the Green Gorilla channel on an ongoing basis, here's how you do it, and we'll be back with the rest of what I'm pumped to do here.
What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless.
Yo, what's cracking, man? I'm GG, man. Like I said before, I kind of just, I decided to do this. I was going to wait until Thursday to even come back and to do any streaming or any kind of activity on YouTube. But I decided to do so today. The spirit moved me a little bit, and I said, let me go ahead and do this, man, to get it out of the way. I know I probably won't have a lot of people come by today because it's just so spur of the moment. You know, and then, you know, I've been gone for a minute, so you know how it is, man. But, you know, I've been thinking about, you know, freedom and what it means to different people. You know, like, and today I'm not having a conversation about booty chatter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just, like, to be quite honest, I get sick of hearing that, man. Like, I get sick of hearing booty chatter incessantly. It's like, you know, can we talk about a multiplicity of topics? Do we just have to be stuck on the same thing forever? It's like a loop or a broken record, you know, a record with a scratch in it. And, you know, the groove keeps going back to the same spot, like a record skipping. Like, you know, at some point it's like, dude, can we have, you know, like diversity of topics that we cover or things that we, you know, investigate or engage in inquiry about? It's like, bro, like, I'm just tired of hearing booty chatter, bro. That's just my opinion, man. I don't know how y'all feel, but shout out to Chef's Mike's Roundtable. Shout out to him. Shout out to Detro 0861. Shout out to Extended Clips, Self Son, Jay, I see you out there. Shout out to Mr. Blue Collar and Ron Matthews. Shout out to y'all, man. But anyway, you know, I came across this article, and it's from an old teacher of mine. And, you know, it's clothed in the language of Catholicism, but I thought the article was pretty good because this is the person, you know, I took a graduate seminar on freedom. He was one of the persons that kind of, you know, gave me some insight into ideas about what freedom actually entails, what it, you know, consists in, how different people from different cultures perceive it, how we come to perceive it today, like what's the origins of the term, the word, you know, like there's different kinds of freedom in philosophy. So like, what do you, when you say freedom, like, what do you mean? And to me, it's just it's a you know, a way to abstract away from all of the turmoil and the trouble so you can be grounded, so that when you start to hear people say words like freedom, you can kind of understand where they're coming from and pigeonhole the meaning of freedom they're utilizing into a category, so you know, like, what they mean, what they're implying when they say freedom. Okay? So, and this is not going to be sensational. It's really, actually, it's kind of boring. To be quite honest, this is boring. This is not something sensational at all. I'm not talking about corniness. I'm not talking about, you know, these hoes and how they be tripping and all of this shit. Like, like every now and then you got to, you know, do something that actually is substantive. So, at any rate, like I said before, man, a teacher of mine wrote an article, and the article is written for lay persons, but actually it's written for Catholics. I don't know, but like, just in case you don't know, all of my life I've gone to Catholic schools. It's not that I'm a practicing Catholic, as much as it is that, you know, I have been reared and educated in a traditional sense. You know, I've been trained as a Catholic. That's just, it's just the facts, okay? And so, anyway, he's writing this paper for Catholics, and his name is Dr. Gregory Beabout. Okay, so he wrote an article, and I thought it was interesting. I took a graduate seminar again from this man about freedom, and he said that, you know, like, when you think about freedom, you can kind of classify it or categorize it into, you know, 3 different types. You know, he talked about the freedom of self-realization, the freedom of self-determination, and the freedom of self-perfection. And it's some philosopher named Mortimer Adler who broke these concepts of freedom down. I'm not going to even go into all of that right now, but I do want to share, you know, some of the things he said. And he made reference to, Beabout did, to the Tower of Babel. Because, like, today, it's like, you know, if you're not careful, you don't even know or understand what people actually means when they say things. You don't know what they mean. So what does freedom mean in this era of Babel? Like, you know, the new Babel. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, of course, as you know, like, in the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, before, you know, people were forced to speak different languages according to this tradition, right? The whole earth had one language. And in an effort, you know, for a group of people to make a name for themselves, they tried to build a city and a tower that would rise up to the heavens, okay? So in response to this, God said, okay, look, let us go down and there confuse their language that they may not understand one another's speech. And this is in Genesis, right? Now, in this story, pride is the thing that makes God confuse people's language and diversify language, and create a multiplicity of languages. The pride, okay? So that was the sin, pride. So, okay, let me confuse your language so y'all don't understand each other, okay? So now you get a multiplicity of languages. Each one has its own grammar, its own vocabulary, and they use different terms to describe the same things or similar realities. So you got people who spoke Hebrew, but they weren't able to understand the people who spoke Greek, and you got Egyptians who spoke Egyptian. They weren't able to understand the Greeks and the Hebrews and so on and so forth, right? So that's the problem of Babel, right? That's the old Babel, the one described in the Bible, okay? But then you have an event called the Pentecost. And of course, the Pentecost is a New Testament story, but it's the inverse rather, of the story of the Tower of Babel. And I don't know if you know what the Pentecost means, but it means the 50th day, okay? So 7 weeks after Easter, is supposedly, the Pentecost, or the event of the Pentecost, where God, who had already ascended to heaven, comes down again and talks to his disciples, okay? So anyway, the whole idea is that during the Pentecost, people from different cultures were able to understand each other, even though they spoke different languages, okay? So each listener was able to understand the apostles of Christ because each heard the message in his own language. And instead of raising a monument to themselves, Jesus, his disciples, after, on the Pentecost, they used language to glorify God and to communicate the gospel, right? So this is, and I'm not trying to, be theological here. Trust me, there's a larger point. Like I said, I'm not really actually a practicing Catholic myself, but I'm utilizing this paper that one of my old teachers utilized himself in order to try to get people to understand different concepts of freedom, okay? So anyway, so in the context of the Pentecost, language didn't lead to confusion or misunderstanding. But there was a common understanding at Pentecost, right? Where by hearing, the apostles speak in their own tongues, they could witness the mighty acts of God, right? So in that moment, the church was supposed to be, or have been formed. That was the first instance in which, the Catholic Church was supposed to have, been formed, okay? So, but when you think about it, like when you hear people talk today, and this is, what one of my old teachers said, he says, well, if you want to explain and defend the teachings of the church today, you'll find yourself speaking among a new Babel. So, like, for example, if you enter into a debate about abortion, you have to be aware that freedom and choice mean different things to different people. So, like a secular defender of, say, for example, a woman's right to choose, they see themselves as defending freedom, and they'll see somebody who's Christian or Catholic who's pro-life, they'll see them as opposed to freedom. Instead of like having a disagreement about what freedom actually means. So when Catholics and Christians and, people who are conservative defend the pro-life position as something that emanates out of authentic freedom, you can find yourself actually speaking at cross purposes with people who don't have any conservative Christian or theological background, right? You'll be working at cross purposes with those persons who claim to be defending, individual choice, right? So you got people, using the same words, and they both are speaking about freedom. Me being free to, terminate the pregnancy, or a woman being free to terminate the pregnancy, or, the other person saying, you're free to choose life. And so they're using the same words, but they mean different things, okay? So in the new Babel, language is confused, not by a multiplicity of languages, but by using the same words to mean different kinds of things, okay? So, of course, as we all know, like the English language, okay, has terms and concepts that have more than one meaning, okay? I mean, I think, like, words that sound the same but have different meanings, words that are spelled exactly the same but have different meanings, like, that's just the English language, okay? That's just the way the language is, right? It contains terms and concepts that have more than one meaning. But what this essentially entails is that there are multiple grammars in the English language, multiple vocabularies that come from the English language, okay? So then Dr. Beabout, again, he's one of my, previous teachers. He basically says, look, let me give you a history lesson on freedom itself. Like, where does the word come from? He says, first of all, the word freedom itself is particularly susceptible to being, problematic related to the new Babel, because different people mean, they mean so many different things when they say it, right? So he says, if you study the history of the English language, it'll reveal how this word freedom can mean very different things. Now, he says in Latin, which is the main language of the Catholic Church, you'll see that there's a distinction between two words. One word is libertas, or liberty, freedom for excellence. And then there's another word, that's a Latin word, licentia, okay, which is freedom from constraint, okay? So in Latin, there's a distinction between libertas and licentia, okay? Liberty, which is freedom for excellence, and licentia, which is freedom from constraint. But the Catholic Church basically moved from Latin and it took on modern languages. It used modern vernacular languages, okay? And so after the Second Vatican Council, and it's important because, like, people don't know the history of language and ideas and philosophy and how the Catholic Church had an impact over these. It's just a fact, okay? So anyway, after the Second Vatican Council, the church said, okay, we're going to do more than just use Latin, okay? So distinctions between terms and the meaning of words, they become lost over time, right? And it's important for people to know, like, the English language, it's not that old, bruh. It's only about 1,000 years old, the English language as a whole, okay? And which basically means, like, in terms of, like, history, the Catholic Church is older than the English language. Just take that into consideration, okay? The Catholic Church is older than the English language, okay? So the English language itself is only about 1,000 years old, okay? Now, for the first few years, or centuries really, in the development of the English language actually sounded like German, okay? You wouldn't be able to recognize English if it was spoken the way it originally was. You wouldn't be able to distinguish it, right? So the way we speak it now, the way we talk now, right? Modern English only began to emerge about like 500 years ago. And in fact, I mean, Dr. Beerbaum basically says the English we speak today is really actually a mixture of German and French. Right? Because the people who lived in England were Teutonic people, which is Germanic, but the people who ruled over them were French. So, I mean, if you don't believe it, man, just go study the history of the Western world and you'll see that, the Anglos were a Germanic tribe, but I mean, the Gauls were as well, and the Franks as well. I would consider them to be Germanic as well, or Teutonic, but that's neither here nor there. But just know that the French governed and ruled over the English for a long period of time, okay? And that the English language in and of itself is a strange hybrid between Gallic or French language and, the Germanic language itself, okay? And then basically Dr. Beerbaum says that the word freedom itself actually comes from Norse mythology, okay? Norse mythology. Now, I'm pretty sure you all know what the Norse or the Nordic mythology is, right? So you have the goddess Frigg, or she's also called Freya or Frigg. And in fact, the name Friday, or the day of the week we call Friday, is named after this god, this Nordic or Norse based goddess. Wow, man, just like why now? Why when I start doing my show now at 7 o'clock, all these damn membership renewals start alerting? Let me let that pass just for a quick second, man, so I can get back to what I'm doing. Thor Thursday, yeah, that's right. Odin Wednesday. I mean, and then, Roman, like Saturday is, a throwback to Rome, the Roman Saturn. But anyway, so the word freedom itself is actually a reference to the goddess Freya or Frigg, okay? And she, oddly enough, was called the goddess of love. And this is where it becomes important, right? In the Germanic myths, the Nordic myths, Freya remained with Odin. Of course, Odin is like, everybody's, you've seen the Marvel universe, so you know who the god Odin is in, the Nordic myths. But Freya stayed with Odin, her husband, not because she was forced, like some of Odin's slaves, but she stayed with Odin because she actually loved him. She is the goddess of love. And for this reason, freedom, from an old English word meaning love, it originally pointed to the bonds of love and friendship. That's where the word actually comes from, freedom. It comes from the goddess Freya, full of love and friendship. That's what it originally indicates, right? And the word friend, oddly enough, if you look at it, F-R-I, contains, a reference to the goddess Freya as well, or Fry or Frigg, okay? So the word friend also developed out of the connection between freedom and love. And it's basically to recognize that we feel most free, we're our best selves when we have connections with our friends and with the people that we share bonds of love and family with. Okay? So this whole idea of freedom, again, is related to the goddess Freya, and it's based, initially, it's based upon love and friendship. Okay? But in the modern era, the meaning of freedom has undergone significant changes. So when you think about the 17th and the 18th centuries and, you know, the revolutions that took place in Europe and, you know, the rise of modern democracies, people, you know, devoid of religious belief, you know, secularists, they began to see the bonds of love and family in and of itself as an infringement on freedom. It becomes the opposite, like family, friendship. Those are impediments to freedom. Those are things that restrict your freedom, things that prevent you from being free. But it didn't stop them from using the word freedom. They still use the word freedom in spite of the original etymology, and which I've, you know, told you, you know, goes back to freer or frig. But for them, it basically means, okay, a lack of constraints. The ability to do whatever it is that you want without regard for any traditional morality. That's what freedom means to a lot of people today. And I mean, you have to admit, people in this culture are influenced by individualism. But the word freedom initially has this connection or is associated with love and with marriage. That's where it comes from. However, today it has come to mean the right to do whatever it is that you want, so long as whatever it is that you want doesn't have the capacity to directly harm somebody else. So there's a difference between ancient ideas of freedom, even in the European or the Western tradition, and the ancient Western tradition and contemporary Western culture. Shout out to Wannabe Mystic. Thank you, man, for the donation. Appreciate that. He says, it isn't much, but pass the plate, support your scholars. Gigi still waiting on part 2 to your Egyptian mythology video. Peace, brother. So shout out to you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Again, this is, you know, impromptu. I didn't expect for much fanfare related to this. The only thing I wanted to do was just come in and talk about freedom and what different people mean by it. So, and you got to think about this today because, like, think about second wave feminism and what women mean by freedom, especially when they talk about women and their connection and their tethering to family life. To them, they are utilizing a modern understanding of the word freedom, not an ancient understanding of the word freedom at all, which originally is associated with the god Freya and is connected to love and family. To where, you know, that's the relationship in which you are most free, according to those persons. But not in this culture. It's entirely different. Okay? Now, and shout out to somebody just hit me on the cash app. Appreciate that. Hakeem, shout out to him. Appreciate that. So what my teacher says is that just because a word undergoes a change in definition doesn't mean that the older meaning is abandoned. He says, just as we use the word keyboard when we talk about computers and when talking about pianos, the modern secular individualistic interpretation of freedom did not erase the older concept of freedom. The idea that freedom comes from a properly ordered affection for those that you love or that one loves, it's still with us. It still resonates with us. And think about it. I mean, maybe rightly or wrongly, but when people like depict love, especially contemporarily or since Rome, as apart from Cupid, for example, I mean, because Cupid or Eros is a male god. So, but when freedom is depicted, as opposed to love, when freedom is depicted, it's usually depicted as a woman. Now, try that on for size. Try that on for size. When freedom is depicted, it typically is depicted as a woman. Wow. Like, take, for example, the Statue of Liberty, which is basically a reference to the Nordic goddess Free. It is. Now, people might want to overlook these older meanings, but the idea of freedoms can still mean different things in English, right? So in the New Babel, two people who profess to a commitment to freedom might have different ideas in mind. One person's freedom might be another person's slavery, right? But not just this. So basically, you know, Dr. B about is basically saying the New Babel involves confusion. Not just about freedom, but also about other moral concepts. But I think the biggest problem is that we have this new concept, you know, like it's secular individualism, which I get it. I understand it as a historical emanation out of a particular period in Western history, but, you know, I have my reservations about it. You know, secular individualism, right? The idea to just be left alone. Don't interfere with me. Let me do whatever it is that I want to do. Because, I mean, if that's all freedom actually entails, or that's all that it can mean, then to me it's a very shallow concept. I'm not going to say it's entirely bankrupt. I think that, you know, the capacity to be able to do some things free from coercion is necessary or requisite to, you know, the development of other kinds of virtue. But I mean, you know, just the ability to do whatever it is you want, that to me doesn't necessarily, you know, entail or inhere in any kind of virtue at all. I mean, after all, like, say, for example, if I'm a millionaire like Whitney Houston and I can get as high as I want, I don't see how that actually translates into freedom. I can get as drunk as I want, and I can go anywhere I can buy what I want. I don't know how necessarily that translates into freedom. Because I think that a robust or a substantive concept of freedom also has to entail some idea or some, you know, concept of virtue. But that's just my opinion, okay? So the question then is like, okay, well, is there any reconciliation, you know, like in the New Babel? Is there any way to do this? I personally, I don't think that there is. I don't think that there's a solution. I mean, the only thing I can say is you have to be aware of what people mean when they use the word freedom. You have to be aware of it. But today, we live in a consumer culture that deifies, like a god, your ability to make choices. But at the end of the day, let's be frank about it. I would like to ask you the question. What is the content of the average person's choices in America? Are you actually as free as you think that you are? How free actually are you? What is your notion or your concept of freedom actually based on? I invite you to answer that question in earnest. What does it mean to be free? What does it actually entail to not be interfered with? I see a lot of people that think that freedom actually is living a life of conspicuous consumption. Or like being able to go to a mall. Like when you think freedom, most people think freedom in a market-based way. Or they think about freedom related to being able to purchase things. Being able to buy things. Or not having to work. Not being tethered to any duties or responsibilities. But what kind of freedom is that? What kind of freedom actually is that? And Stay Fresh says spiritual freedom is the only true freedom. But what does that entail? What does that entail? Spiritual freedom in what sense? Creative Scale Design says liberty equals freedom within confines. A gated dog. Oh no, what is this, man? Got some bot up in here, man. What is that, man? How do I get this out of here, man? I can't even get rid of it. Look at that. I can't even get rid of this, man. It ain't even giving me a choice to get rid of it. Deuteronomy 28:68 into Egypt. Again, Memphis, Tennessee is south of Cairo. On the bank of Memphis, Tennessee, Great American Pyramid open. America is Egypt's slaveocracy. I get it, bro. But I mean, you know, look, all I'm trying to do is to get you to think about what freedom actually means. Today, the average woman perceives marriage, even though they say they want it, to a lot of women today, it is an awesome, a terrible responsibility. To them, it makes them unfree. Unfree. I know many of you want families and, you know, want things to return, you know, to an era or a time in which, you know, things were, you know, like more traditional, but like, I don't see it happening, man. I don't see it happening, bro. And that's because the meaning of what people perceive as free and a life worth living, it has changed. But you know, at the end of the day, this is what I say, man. Like, you know, I was watching a whole bunch of different YouTube channels. I did run across Arami Osei Frimpong's channel, and he was talking about like freedom and the family, and how the family in and of itself is kind of based upon, the family is based upon a notion of freedom. But I can tell you most assuredly, the kind of freedom that the family is based upon, or that undergirds it, is not licentia. The ability to not be, interfered with, or the right to not be interfered with. That's not what the freedom of the family inheres in. Or negative liberty. That's sometimes how people in philosophy talk about it, right? Shout out to ICIP 13. Appreciate that. Says, peace, Doc. Haven't had time to listen to you live. Shout out to ICIP. So anyway, this doesn't have to be long. I ran across this article from one of my older teachers, and I just came to the conclusion that, like, overviewing, these different ideas about freedom, like, the value that's connected to people working together to overcome problems, even within the concept of something as natural as reproduction and love related to somebody you've reproduced with, it doesn't really exist in this culture anymore. The paramount concept of freedom, or the summum bonum of life, is to not be obstructed, to be able to do whatever it is you want to do in an individualistic sense. It's almost like, being able to go to a mall or Walmart and to buy the product that you want. That's freedom today, like to be able to purchase, to have the power to buy what it is that you desire. That's what freedom inheres in today. And that's how many people perceive it. The idea that nobody can tell me what to do. I'm the boss of me. But I mean, you have to be honest though. Like, everywhere you look, you don't have the capacity to do whatever it is that you want to do. Who gets to do this? Except for the uber wealthy. I'm talking about the uber wealthy. Who gets to do whatever it is that they want? And even then, does it actually, and I'm just saying within the logic of that kind of freedom, the freedom to do whatever you want to do, uncoerced. By either other individuals, the government, because you got to answer to somebody. If you are a working individual, unless you're uber wealthy, you can't even do what you want to do anyway. He says it sounds hedonistic. Well, in fact, it is based upon hedonism. Not necessarily based upon hedonism, essentially, but it is based upon, the idea that human beings are naturally happy when they're unrestricted in their movement. I just don't think that that's enough. I need a more robust understanding of freedom and a concept of freedom to work with than that. That to me is just not, it won't suffice for a person to say that they've attained a good life. And he says hunter-gatherers are maybe the closest, but even they have restrictions. But even then they have restrictions. Well, if you live within the context of a group, there's going to be restrictions because you can't do just whatever it is that you want to do if you are a member of a group and you need that group to actually function and survive. Then no, you can't do what you want to do. He says their axiology is theme-based. Again, man, if anybody has a comment they want to make live, they can. But other than that, I'm about to get up out of here. I'm only gonna be here for an hour at the most. At the most. So at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is different people mean different things when they say freedom. It wasn't too long ago that I read an article. I forget the name of the woman who wrote the article, but it was about family. Let me see if I can find this thing. Family. What's up, Rogus? What's cracking with you, bro? How you doing?
Chilling, Doc. What's good?
Ain't nothing to it, man.
Already.
Nothing to it but to do it. So, I saw my old teacher, man, it's a white dude, you know what I'm saying, Catholic professor, you know what I'm saying, at the Jesuit University. And, I took a graduate seminar from him, and, the main subject of the seminar was freedom. Various kinds of freedom, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just thought it would be cool for me to share it, because people think, that like when they say free, that they mean exactly the same thing when they say it. As everybody else when they say it, but I beg to differ. I think that different people have different ideas about what freedom is.
Certainly.
And oftentimes we get it, we get things tangled up.
Yeah. Well, what's this generalized freedom though? It seems Dr. Amos Wilson used to say people seem to desire a legislative freedom.
I don't even think, to be quite honest, I don't even think people desire legislative freedom in America at all.
Right.
Think about how actively involved the average individual is in public or political life.
Okay.
I'm just being honest.
But politics has subcultures attached to it now. Like everything that has been essentially a joint of a proper establishing society has been spider webbed off into all types of, digital and abstractions. So, look at what the Chat GPT pegged you as, right? Who was it? Did Dr. T put you in, or you put Dr. T in?
Oh, I didn't. I haven't. I've never put myself in Chat GPT at all.
So Dr. T put you in there, and I think he said that it had you pegged as like some type of like feminist leaning type person. It's like, yo, really? So to say that if the society is already established under that the social condition perspective of freedom, damn, I don't even know if we can even get on the chord of what freedom is. Because inquiry that I used to ask people was, does your peace match your freedom? Because people used to talk about freedom all the time, and pro-blacks out there and all that, and freedom, and we get our freedom, we do this. And I was like, all right, but wait a minute, what about your peace matching your freedom? You're free to do this, you're free to do that, but what about your peace? Especially
that's important. And see, for example, like an ancient so I'm a philosophy expert, right?
Yes, sir.
In the sense that I have a PhD in philosophy, right? So a person from the ancient world would probably not think about freedom being like the capacity to be, to do whatever it is I want,
right,
without anybody, having any claim to say anything about what it is that I'm doing.
Right.
That's a relatively recent phenomenon, this kind of idea that you shouldn't restrict me. And typically it comes out of the social contract tradition,
right,
of modernity, right? Where human beings are basically construed as monadic. And, the word monad means like one, like individuals, like, rough individuals, rugged, innately and naturally, there's something pre-social about who we are.
Right.
I just don't believe that. I think that flies against anthropological and biological evidence. I mean, for the sake of argument, I understand it because...
So you mean to conduct oneself in a manner to where it would be mutually beneficial for an overall enrichment and progression of all in group understand the whole human thing that a lot of cats don't, like to deny these days.
Well, okay, so just think about this. All I'm trying to articulate is this. The social contract tradition is a resistance against the divine authority of autocratic kings.
Okay.
Which basically they dictate every aspect of everybody's life in an absolute way.
Right. Under consent, under their consent.
Well, under the consent of the king. Right?
Indeed.
So a group of, people in England, or, in Europe,
right.
Not just England, but I mean, they began to revolt against this whole concept of the divine right of kings to rule in an absolute way. Like, no. And so then they began to place primacy of decision-making power in the hands of the individual or persons, who make up the state as opposed to the sovereign.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Now, like a person like Hobbes, I'm not going to get into this all the way through and through. I don't think it'll be useful for me to even get into it any deeper than this. All these individuals were trying to do was say that, the consent of being governed comes from a person's natural right to govern himself. In the state of nature, every man has the ability to make use of his own ratiocinative powers to decide what's best for him, not somebody above him.
Right.
Like a king or a cleric, like a priest or something like that.
Right.
Okay. It's every individual has a right to, kind of be governing in a sense, autonomous, so to speak.
But what's the difference between one engaging in self-autonomy and doing so as a group to the point where they need a representative due to expansion, hence the whole need of a government. The government's supposed to be representative of the people because it actually is the people. It's just the voice of the people distant from them. And you know what I'm saying?
But you know how that can get fucked up. I mean, you can get dictators, man, who just look at Rome,
yeah, true that.
Look at some of the Roman emperors. Like, these are rulers. They're supposed to, rule for the benefit of the people. But I mean, come on, man. Like somebody like Caligula or Nero or I mean, like, ideally one could say that, the people who are in the ruling classes are supposed to look beyond just what's best for themselves and to look towards what's best for everybody under their scope of power.
Because power can
come
corrupt.
on, man, that shit don't always work like that.
Well, that's why you keep a spare guillotine in the trunk, cuz. You know what I mean?
But hey, look, put it this way. You know how force goes, man. Like, So like I want to kind of like feed into Chef Mike's roundtable idea. Like, he says, well, how do you see self-reliance with respect to freedom? And you got to think, like, self-reliance in what regard? Like, I don't believe that any human being is self-sufficient, man. Personally, I just don't see it.
It looks like we're designed for interdependency. That's what it looks like we're designed, especially the fact of how we can. I mean, what's the old African adage? What is it? Go by yourself if you want to something with a journey, but if you want to go farther, take a friend or something like that. It basically just tells into what force multiplication does. Yeah, it's a mathematics thing actually. Shout out.
Put it this way, so I'm just trying to answer, a whole bunch of shit that's coming up right now. So Chef Mike says, how do you see self-reliance with respect to freedom? And he's talking about Emerson, right?
Right.
And I would say, well, like, self-reliance in relation to what? Like, I mean, like, you mean, think about this. Like, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go with this? And like, how practical or impractical do you want to be with it? Like, for example, like, one could argue I could be to some degree, I can be self-sufficient by saying, fuck society. I'm going to go buy me a cabin in the woods and I'm going to live off the fat of the land.
Right.
And I don't want to have to deal with I'm a misanthrope. I don't like people. I'm going to live by myself.
Right.
Now, first of all, that's a hard existence for one.
Yeah, everybody ain't built for it.
No, you know, like, I mean, you've seen the television shows where motherfuckers like, we got to come get them. You know? You know, like, hey, man, we got to come, you know, like, he tried as best as he could, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they do.
You seen the shows, have you not?
They tap out.
So
I used to watch
Survivor
that
and shit like that. I mean, they have restrictions or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, think about it. Human beings got to where they are in terms of evolution, not because it was a bunch of individuals deciding I'm gonna do what the fuck I want to do, you know, you know, on my own in a, you know, under the rubric of or the framework of you can't tell me shit. I'm self-reliant. That's not how human beings have evolved to where they are.
Right.
And I mean, everywhere you go, there are tribes of people. Not like just individual motherfuckers existing on their own accords.
Well, wait a
I'm
minute.
just saying as a phenomenon. Okay.
How unplugged is a hive-minded person supposed to be, though?
But think of, man,
because they're only individual based off of where they can get in, where they fit in with how the system and the framework of the society's been made. They're not understanding that the framework of the society was made into that. It wasn't always like that. No, the society of man did not always operate, you know what I'm saying, how America does. So, you know,
well, America's just, there's a form of association in America. By it is, okay. But I would say, let me go back. Okay, so here's what I'm trying to articulate. And it's just this is my metaphysical argument. Things don't exist apart from other things in nature in general.
Right.
Things agglomerate. Things come together. I mean, not to say that things don't split apart. They do. Right. But I'm saying, like, especially when you talk about mammals, biological species of mammals. Okay? And what's the definition of a mammal? Okay, what is the very definition of a mammal?
Well, something that's not a reptile. I mean, something that's born from a womb. Anything that's born from a womb, correct? Or something like that.
Mammals include humans and all other animals that are warm-blooded vertebrates.
All right.
They feed their young with milk and have a more well-developed brain than other types of animals. A mammal, when a mammal has a baby, that motherfucker needs to be breastfed or it will die.
Okay, yeah. Facts.
Now, a mammal is not a reptile.
Right.
Like a snake can be born and that motherfucker pretty much for dolo as soon as it's off the, you know, like as soon as he cracked the egg, it's like, okay, I'm out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
get it how you live.
I got to get it in. But a human being is not a reptile. We are mammals. So, I mean, I'm speaking for like members of our species.
Right.
Human beings don't come out of the pussy ready to get it in how they live, bro.
Nah. You need training.
If you're saying that that's the case, I'm gonna say you're out of your fucking mind. You don't understand like the unique positionality and the situationality of human being itself.
Right.
That's not how we're built. In fact, human beings exist in infancy probably damn near as long as any other animals. Saving for what other animal is in infancy longer than a human being?
An elephant?
Maybe an elephant.
Maybe an elephant. Maybe a giraffe, possibly.
Maybe giraffes. But I mean, we wouldn't allow a 10-year-old to just get it out there how they live either, would we?
Of course not.
No, not even maybe even a 12 or a 13-year-old.
Nah.
I mean, but you're getting to the point where if they are 12 or 13, they're entering puberty, so they're entering into a stage of adulthood.
Right. And we're talking based off of the social dynamics of this contemporary society right here. Because in the past, of a 13, 14-year-old was actually, you know what I'm saying, room to get it in. You know what I mean?
Right. But look, I want to, because I like where Chef Mike's roundtable is going. He says, I'm not speaking about self-reliance as like self-sufficient. I'm speaking about self-actualization, not self-reliant, right? Like in the sense of being alone. So, okay. I would say, I think that this concept of freedom has really actually been lost in the modern world. Because we emphasize so much negative liberty, like don't interfere with me, don't fuck with me, don't tell me what I can and what I can't do. We don't talk about freedom related to self-actualization anymore. Not very much. I'm not saying it doesn't exist at all, but it's not as paramount in our culture as negative liberty is.
So it seems like you say, it seems like it's just primarily tied into consumption. So we could say freedom, but the moment that you restrict, you know what I'm saying, one's miscellaneous consumption, then, you know what I'm saying, I guess that's running afoul of the social conditioning, you know?
Well, I would say like, okay, so I would say that human beings in America, I would say that like American citizens really actually are dominated, even though they think they're not. I think that they are. I think they're like white people too. Like average white folk, I think they're dominated. Yeah. We're just dominated.
Shit, the Matrix is full of pilgrims. Hell, everybody else just, you know what I'm saying, fall under the spell. But this shit is for pilgrims.
So I would say like, okay, so there's a philosopher by the name of Mortimer Adler. Go look him up. So he says that there's 3 different types of freedom. You got the freedom of self-realization, which is negative liberty, the freedom to be able to do what you want, free from coercion. Okay. So that's the freedom of self-realization. Then you got the freedom of self-determination, which is almost like existential freedom, like the freedom to be able to choose between alternatives in a sense that, like, even though a person might force you, like, you know, to be a slave, you still have a choice as whether or not you're going to be a slave through, like, deciding to end your life.
Okay.
Like, you know, like one could argue that like you're
That's
forced to be free. There are choices you can make, or like you can either acquiesce or resist.
Right.
Like to me, I call this existential freedom to a certain degree because it's like Sartrean freedom. It's like.
But it was a cultural practice at you know what I'm saying, given point within the transatlantic slave trade. You know what I'm saying? It was on record that some women actually bit the throat out of their babies.
Oh, for sure. Like, so, we don't want you to have to live like this. Like,
exactly.
I mean, you know. Yeah. And it was some guys like, you know, on the boats or whatever, when they got free from their shackles, they just said, fuck it, we jumping in the water. We done with this. It's a dunzo. I'm not dealing with this. Like, I mean, even every day you wake up, man, you gotta, like Pac said a long time ago, every day I wake up, man, I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? That's the ultimate existential question. Yeah. Is life actually worth living? Damn. That's the first question that you ask all day. I mean, tacitly, implicitly, you ask that question to yourself every day.
Well, especially if you're black, because that's one of the elephants in the room, you know what I'm saying? The racism, the whole possible, you know what I'm saying, curse thing, all that shit, especially when you're little, you know what I'm saying? Because one, we don't talk about it, and so you have to go through this shit alone.
So check this out. Wannabe Mystic says, can the Ubermensch ever be achieved?
Ain't that something? Already here, homie.
The question is, how long can it last? Like being an overman, like how long can you maintain that shit? You know what I'm saying? Like that's like,
Well, it's spending itself. That's the thing. It already has been attained, but the way that they established it with that appetite. You're supposed to establish it for the enrichment of all. But if you eat, then only you eat, and then the thing it just gets spent. That's just the way it goes. I think it's just like money. You know what I'm saying? They call it currency for a reason. Well, nothing happens with it unless it's flowing. So even if you're just sitting on it and storing it, it really ain't. You're not really getting the full value out of it.
So let me put it to me. One can argue, like the whole idea of being an Ubermensch. Friedrich Nietzsche came up with this idea to have a discussion about two different groups of persons and their kinds of moralities, right?
Right.
You got a group of people who are powerful and who perceive themselves as virtuous as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got a group of people who are powerless, and because their life is miserable, they attribute negative qualities to people who lord over them.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a slave morality. Like, okay, well, you're not fair, you're greedy, or you're exploitative,
right.
You're rapacious, you're
right.
violent, you're usurious,
right.
you're whatever epithet you can come up with, right? But
right.
basically it was a criticism of Christian theology as well, because Nietzsche,
you're calling the humanity into an accountability, but how strong does the slave hold on to the accountability of the humanity if they permit themselves to remain a slave? You know what I mean? That's like, even at the threat of death, though. That's the thing. You get right back to freedom. What's the value of freedom? Has that changed over? You know what I'm saying? However long it's been for the age of man.
Well, let me just say this, Javante, bro. Like you killing me with these Egypt references, bro. I get it, man. Like, look, man, you ain't got to tell me, man. That, like I done read Theophilo Benga, man. I done read Ivan Van Sertima, Anthony Browder, Chick Anthony Diop, all that shit, bro. You ain't got to sell me on the idea that America is fucking Babylon, dog. You ain't got to do it, bro. You ain't got to go. You ain't got to, every time they hear the sound. You ain't got to tell me, man. Like, I know a whole bunch of Negro, like I'm Afrocentric to the core, dog.
Yes, sir.
You ain't got to convince me, bro. I'm just keeping it a buck, man. But shout out to Marvel 318, man. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate that donation, man.
Respect.
And look, this is all impromptu. Also, shout out to Kalon Montreal. He says, freedom is in opposition to law of God, nature, even biology. People don't want their desires controlled, no matter what they are. But look, this is why I read off what Chef said when he said self-actualization. Now, like, there's freedom. I said freedom of self-realization, which is the freedom from coercion. The freedom of self-determination, which is like a natural kind of metaphysical freedom. Right. But then there's the freedom of self-perfection.
Yes.
Yeah. And one can argue, like, there is no freedom without self-perfection or the attainment of virtue in a domain of life, a specific domain of life.
Yeah, but what if you're put in that domain of life outside of your intention? Like, I think that it has to be largely intentional for the catalyst of, I'm saying, that the whole element of putting forth the effort towards perfection of self. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that people take on lightly. Like let's take Kobe, for instance, right? You know what I'm saying? Mamba mode or whatever. The thing is, he knew that the millions was going to come. He knew, you know what I'm saying? He wanted to be the best at what it is that he did. If he wasn't in basketball, people think that he wouldn't have put forth that same effort, the same Mamba-ness to whatever else he would have been in. That's the one thing that people need to focus. Oh, my mic just messed up. Hold up.
You didn't mess up to me. Here come Big Kev. What's up, Big Kev? What's cracking with you?
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Doctor? How's it going, Roguish?
Yeah, he his mic something. I think something went a little ill with his mic real quick.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, so no apologize for just kind of jumping in on the topic of freedom. There's what I understand from freedom is that it's not so much a matter of one extreme or another, but it's a matter of more so like finding a balance, a good balance, between boundaries and like, freedom of like movement. It's like it's more like striking a good balance between order and chaos. If you ever look at nature, it's this thing called spontaneous order, you know, or if you look at in the occult circles, they call this the phrase in Latin is called ordo ab chaos, or order out of chaos. So
Right.
when people talk about freedom, it's like it's not so much rather a no rules versus nothing but rules, but rather it's a combination of finding a good balance between not having enough rules and just being regulated and red tape to death. You know what I mean?
We'll put it this way. Like, look, to me, just the absolute ability to do whatever you want to do without any restrictions at all. To me, that's not freedom. Okay. To me, that's a crass, concept of freedom. Okay.
Yes, anarchy.
Well, it's
In
going
a
to
sense,
be. It's
well,
going to be
it's
anarchy.
absolute anarchy, right? This is kind of like a libertarian's view of politics. Like the state should not be involved in telling individuals what to do. Other individuals should not be involved in telling individuals what to do. Now, for some strange reason, when it comes to corporations, nobody has a fucking problem with them telling people what the fuck they ought to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I don't understand about America. So, like every entity, every social institution can be thwarted by the individual except for financial or capitalistic institutions. Now, you gotta fucking listen to what they tell you to do.
Right.
Now, but of course, the whole conversation takes place within the framework of, well, you don't have to follow that particular company. Like, you can go work at any company, the one that fits your fancy or whatever.
Right.
But that's, to me, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Selection.
And it obfuscates from the fact that you're still a slave to a wage. You got to make paper if you want to be able to coexist within this system. Because you got to pay your lights. You got to pay your gas.
Right.
You got to pay, your cable bill, your car notes, or whatever the case may be. You got to pay your entertainment, your Netflix, your StreamYards, whatever. Like, the price of doing business is you got to do business. You got to play by the rules.
Right.
Which means you can't do whatever it is you want to do.
So let's say when it comes to freedom, that just as I can't see your name, brother. Brother K, respect to.
That's Big Kev.
Oh, Big Kev, respect, Big Kev. It comes back to what you said as far as an element of ease of navigation, but with borders so that you can maintain a certain level of order, because y'all said anarchy. And the thing is, that's not anarchy. Anarchy is actually a tool for when it's the wrong order present. So you break that order through anarchy, and then you establish what the order is supposed to be, so that the harmony and the peace ensues. Because no nation is able to call itself civilized and actually operate within anarchy. That's why they got shit fucked up with the Joker. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Joker wanted a complete, the Batman who laughs type of thing, situation.
Well, also though, but I mean, some people say anarchy could be, no discernible or like official hierarchical government. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just,
oh, hell no.
It's like a situation in which almost like fucking like Black Lives Matter, or like Occupy Wall Street or some shit. Like, well, like there's no discernible leader. Like, to be quite honest, the Black Manosphere is fucking anarchic, bro.
Yeah. To the standard, yeah.
It's an organization of men that's voluntary, that doesn't have any political institutions or hierarchical government at all.
Yeah, well, I mean,
am I lying?
Was it the black Q9?
What was I about to say? Well, I mean, yeah, I would say it's more so like it's like decentralized, because how can I put it like this? Like, prior to modern day governments, you had tribes. You know what I mean? So you had tribal organization and tribal leadership. So I would say with this space, it's more so I would say it's more so like decentralized. We have like a lot of hubs.
I'm gonna tell you.
But
why
yeah,
not.
like I would say, yeah, like it would
This shit is
technically
absolute anarchy, bro.
anarchy. And
I'm
I think
telling
what
you
it
why.
is that, and I think what it is that what scares people a lot about this space is that, yeah, like I said, from the outside, almost compared to like almost like a hurricane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From like the outside looking in, yeah, it looks like an absolute circus shit show. But if you look in more so towards like the core of the space, you know, what they call like the eye of the storm, as far as the hurricanes, it's a lot of intellectual engagement and discussions. You know what I mean? You,
But,
Dr. T, yeah, but
however,
yeah, there is no clearly discernible leader or organization in the space. But
so to me,
from the outside,
okay,
it looks like a circus show.
But Big Kev, let's be frank about this, right? Like we know what men say that men do, correct? What do we say? We consistently say that men love
Create order, yeah.
Right? I mean, we consistently say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, order would entail a hierarchical structure because without hierarchical structure, there is no fucking order.
Right.
Now, it's just odd to me that a group of men who claim to be uber logical, uber rational, and who claim, I'm serious about this now. I'm being sarcastic to a certain extent and being facetious, right?
I get you now.
But think about it. You got a group of men who say, I'm logical, I'm rational, and I'm non-emotive. However, don't fucking try to create any order over what I'm doing. Because also men in this space, whether they want to admit it or not, also subscribe to the idea of licentia as opposed to libertas. Okay? Licentia means, and also licentia, there's another word for it in the English language, licentiousness.
Licentiousness, yeah.
You know, like, and there's a reason it takes up a negative connotation. Because licentiousness means like, okay, you can't watch your tongue, you can't watch your drink, your eating, what you consume. You can't. Your sex is licentious. You know, like the guy who said like, I fucked all these bitches and I ain't responsible for none of them, bitch. I told you that I told you I ain't want to have these kids. I told you I'd take you to the. Now he got to take some of the blame for that shit too. You know, for being a bottom feeder, fucking all these chicks and shit without wearing a hat. Because nigga, you could have wore a hat, dog.
But hold up. But what's to set the standard of the quality of character of man that he's supposed to be? This is where culture comes in now.
Yeah. But you know, like, look, in nature, man. I don't want to deviate too far from like what we're talking about, and then get into that gutter shit. But I mean, at the end of the day, some men believe that if you create order, you're creating coercion, and they don't want to be a part of it if it doesn't fit into what they primarily feel is the ideology or the direction in which shit should flow politically, ideologically, morally, axiologically. If it doesn't fit into their vision of how the world should be ordered, then they don't want to have anything to do with it at all. And I get it, but like think about this, man. No disrespect to any different groups of persons in the black manosphere, from Ivmore to SYSBM or whatever the fuck. But like, let's be frank, man. Who runs SYSBM, dog?
Runs it?
Like, who's the president? Who's the fucking president of SYSBM, man?
Yeah, nobody. Well, I think nobody.
Who is
nobody?
The angry bus driver?
Nope.
Wasn't he the guy that started the motherfucker?
No, it was King Sigma coined the term. So
okay, but the whole point I'm saying is, right? Like, I'm in an organization, man. I'm in several organizations, right?
Right.
Like, for example, I'm in Omega Psi-Phi, right?
Right.
There is a fucking president, a national president to this organization, bro.
Right.
Who ultimately is responsible for the policy meted out by men. And then not only that, though, there are districts, there are heads of districts within the organization. And then locally, there are chapters with a hierarchical structure within the chapters.
Right.
Now, also, I'm in, what some motherfuckers would consider some Illuminati shit or the boule, because some motherfuckers, Omega Psi Phi is boule anyway.
That's a hierarchy, though. It's still a hierarchy present.
I'm a Mason. So there's a hierarchy in fucking Masons.
Right.
In every lodge, there is a worshipful master who basically is the president of the fucking lodge.
Right.
There's not like, okay, well, it's a bunch of, motherfuckers doing whatever they want to do, dog. Whatever you say is, man, you just whatever you want to do. No. We have meetings. We create agendas.
Right.
We have motions, which are propositions, like related to orders. We have old order business, new business.
But Doc, how do you get the so-called leader-minded to accept leadership?
All I'm saying is the only thing I'm articulating is this is a space where guys claim to be uber rational.
Right.
Yep.
Am I lying?
Right,
Well, think about this, Green Gorilla. I don't know, how close you follow finance, but if you've ever truly heard somebody who knows what they're talking about as far as finance, they'll be the first ones to tell you, despite all the technical analysis going on, nobody ever truly knows for sure where the market is going. So, and these are people that are super logical. They do a lot of super logical analysis and whatnot, and they'll be the first to tell you nobody truly knows where the market is going. They can put off a best guess and they can make assumptions, which is why there's always a disclaimer where they say past performance isn't always an indicator of future performance, as we saw with the SVB bank collapse. You know what I mean? Just from was it just last week? So. I mean, that's just something.
I will say this. The market in and of itself is predicated upon the idea that a bunch of individuals pursuing their own rational interests leads to Pareto optimality. To a certain extent, right? Like, so the whole idea is that the outcome of not concerted effort, but like just effort of individuals trying to maximize their own utility will bring about a positive outcome in relation to market, the externalities, meaning that the outcome of all of that unregulated will create, like an optimum situation for all of the parties involved. I mean, at least conceptually, that's the way the market is supposed to work. Now, personally, I think that the idea in and of itself is bullshit.
I'm keeping
it real.
True. I'll say it's true to some extent, but not to like an absolute degree. And as Willier said in the chat, yeah, sometimes decentralization is necessary. I mean, even Obsidian made a point where he said, good fences make good neighbors. So I mean,
hey, look.
I understand. You're saying that there needs to be like some sort of hierarchy. I'm saying is that
I didn't say if it's going to happen. I didn't say that there needed to be any hierarchy. I'm not. Look, all I'm saying is this is what I'm in jest.
No. There is an essentiality of a hierarchy.
In jest, in JES, not JUS, in JES, I'm saying that you got a group. How can you bring a group of motherfuckers who have as an ideology that they're alpha? How can you bring them motherfuckers to get together, man, and create a hierarchy of any kind? Because no one will consent to being at the midpoint in the hierarchy.
Well, the thing is, it seems that they want the exact same individualism that, the other party ain't supposed to be wanting. So it's like, I think everybody wants some type of sense of individualism within it, in the sense of how the social conditioning says the hive programming is supposed to go. It's just a different version of it. Like, okay, so you can have the element of, the highest logical factor and all that, right? But for some reason, the group wishes to operate outside of that, which is traditionally a group, and the traditional aspect is more aligned with a cultural perspective as opposed to just a bio-organic human one. Like there has to be a hierarchy. But no one wishes to either, I guess, claim a crown or appoint one.
Well,
so it's like
motherfuckers show act like they motherfucking popes in the manosphere. Like,
well, I think what it is
I ain't
is
gonna
that
say no names, but I done had a motherfucker come to me, man, on some bullshit. Like we gotta start getting these guys out of here. Like, man, dude, like, bro, like, okay, so this. Let me just be honest about this. Okay, so I'm being facetious. This is what I believe the manosphere is. I believe it is a public. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I mean by a public, look up John Dewey and look up public and see what the same motherfucker who created the Dewey Decimal System is the same motherfucker. He's a American pragmatist philosopher who came up with the idea of a public, and he wrote a book called The Public and Its Problems. Okay, and the idea here is that a public is an amorphous group of people who have conversations about a multiplicity of topics, ranging from politics, economics, to morality, philosophy, metaphysics, whatever the fucking case may be, okay? Now, can a public have an impact on hierarchical structures? Yeah. Certainly, I think so, okay? But, like, at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you why jackleg niggas got mad at me, because I tried to put together a fucking documentary, right? That's the only reason, bro. Motherfuckers got butthurt, man. Their anus got sore because I tried to fucking put a documentary together.
What was their reason for that?
Huh?
What was their reasons for getting angry? What reasons did they give for that?
Because they some bitch ass niggas, hoe ass niggas.
Well, I asked that for a specific question because I actually came on to...
The claim was that I was grifting from the men in the space. Like, I was trying to take money from them. Okay. Like, because I asked for money to do it, so I tried to crowdfund it from the men in the manosphere, who all big bosses and alphas, right? Just be frank about it, right? Everybody here is a baller, got their shit together and on their alpha shit, right? So I'm like, okay, this ain't gonna really hurt motherfuckers for real. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Not no big ass balling ass alpha niggas.
Right. But what's considered doing the work then? If you wasn't considered doing the work in said venture, what actually is considered doing the work? The whole point
is that you're taking money from men in the space. Who I guess the motherfucker was asserting that the men in the space are broke and don't know how to fucking make decisions when it comes to what they want to spend their money on. So he had to interject and be a daddy to the motherfuckers in the space and let them know what they shouldn't be doing, because he wouldn't do it.
Well, that's just competition. I mean, precisely. People who are making money in the space, and then they're looking at other people making money in the space.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I don't like my thing of this is that, how can I put it like this? If you've ever read the 48 Laws of Power or the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene, they'll tell you in the book. It's like, I think the reason why this space is so decentralized is because they want to what's called, I think specifically in 33 Strategies of War, where it says you want to avoid the snares of groupthink. So unfortunately, in the past we've tried to do a lot of organization, hierarchical organization. Okay. A lot of so-called Black folks got stuck in groupthink. I think with this space, like you said, being as what you said, it operates like a public. I think we're trying to avoid the snare of that groupthink. So that's the reason why I'm saying, like, yeah, it can be decentralized. You just got to just have certain rules to operate by, and you got to have like an agenda. Like, that's the reason why I like when Dr. T put together that 14-point plan when it comes to the black male political agenda, because that's something that you could point to.
Yeah, that's actually why one of the questions I had when you guys were talking, two questions. One was, to have that freedom, does it have to be hierarchical if you have a group of people that come to a quorum? So, not necessarily a hierarchy where one person is higher than the next, but that the ideology itself is the authority.
Well, let me put it this way, but I believe in collective freedom.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I believe in collective decision making. because I believe in democracy to a certain extent. Now, I ain't gonna say, like democracy is gonna work in every situation, especially like if, like say for example, we in the military and some shit has to be done like reflectively. I mean, not reflexively is what I meant to say. And we don't have to have a lot of time. There has to be a clear structure of what's going down and how it's going down and when it's going down. And it can't be democratic in that way, okay? But in an overarching sense, I think that we can create conditions in which, like there's periods of reflection where we can say, okay, let's take time to assess the processes of decisions that we made and whether or not the things we're working towards are things we should be working towards now. Maybe like 20 years ago, we should have been working towards A or B, but now perhaps maybe it's time for us to think about doing something different, like to change the trajectory of our ends, right?
Well, I mean, historically, you've had a lot of, I hate to make a Star Wars reference, but a lot of countries will go through democracy and then they'll oscillate back into monarchy or, whatever when there's, in times of uncertainty. Like even the Roman Empire, right? They say, okay, we're going to become an empire other than a republic because we got to get some shit done here. We're falling apart, and then we'll come back to it later, whether or not that happens or not. So,
and I get that, what I'm saying? Like, but I mean, you also have to understand that, like, the whole concept of Republican freedom comes out of governance, like from bodies like senates and fucking, representatives and shit like that. Like that's the idea of how, like democracy evolves. I mean, of course, like even within Greek society, there was, conversations about, mob rule, which is what fucking the demos actually means. Demos means rule by the mob. But democracy means rule by the mob. That's what it means.
Weird.
Okay, so I mean, like some societies are more or less democratic. I mean, this just the way shit is. Okay, now myself personally, like even a relationship, I think should to some degree it should be based upon like a democratic process. It shouldn't just be me saying, bitch, I said do this. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to be like a dictator. I'm going to be like, okay, but look, how you want the house to be decorated? Right. Here's some suggestions you make, some I make. Let's come to, like, let's deliberate about it and come to, like, consensus. And if we can't come to a consensus, fuck it then. Let's flip a coin in if we want to be fair about the shit. Because if it come to two motherfuckers making a decision and then they're at an impasse, how do you arbitrate the dispute? Okay?
Right. Use a mob?
Huh?
I mean, the thing is, how
can
was
smack the bitch up and say you do what the fuck I tell you to do, or we can make it equity. Because I'm a reasonable individual, I can say, okay, look, in the instance where we reach an impasse, fuck it then. I toss a coin, but I got a coin with two heads on the motherfucker, right? Mm. That's some bullshit. That was a joke. But the whole point is, there will be times when you can't reach it. That's why you got like a government, like the U.S. is like you got an executive, judicial, and a legislative. The legislative is making laws. The executive executes and sometimes, through acts and shit like that makes laws. But then like the judicial section, assesses.
You have to have a tiebreaker, basically. Somebody has to be a tiebreaker. You got to have a quorum witness.
How is a mob any different from an anarchist group then? What makes a mob worthy to rule?
Well, so there are many statesmen. I'm glad you asked that question. There's many guys that said, fuck democracy. Even American, like the founding fathers of this country, man, they did not. A lot of people think that they love democracy. No, they did not, bro. Mm. Okay, so
I thought it was supposed to be a republic.
Well, a republic is not necessarily a democracy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you got representatives representing the so-called interest of people within a district. But come on, man, like, let's be frank about this shit. America, man, has become so corrupt politically. Right. People don't even make reference to the corruption anymore. It's just expected.
Right. It's the framework.
Right. And then, like the average representative,
and that's something global. That's not, that's not just America. That's all over the place.
This is true, but I mean, like America is the prototype for what democracy is supposed to look like, supposedly, right?
True.
First
True.
Nation, like the revolution, like to throw off the yoke of, the fucking colonial powers and shit like that.
Like it ain't that.
Right? And then to set up, like a framework of
hustle.
government that is rooted in individual liberty and all of this shit, which, like I said, I take umbrage with some of the characterizations, of human nature and shit like this. But I mean, ultimately, man.
Well, listen. What you guys have to understand is this: that the whole framework, a lot of these ideas are actually not new. They're actually borrowed from a lot of indigenous American forms of like tribal government and whatnot. If you ever get a chance to, again, you can go read a book called Encyclopedia of American Indian Contributions to the World, where they talk about how even the Constitution, the preamble to the Constitution, "We the People," comes from Iroquois Six Nations law. They talk about how like individual property rights, you know what I mean? How that became the basis for what we know nowadays, the real estate market, and how, like you said, as far as communal land ownership for certain tribes, that became the basis of what we know nowadays as socialism. You had the Aztecs who had free public elections, as well as like an electoral college system similar to what we have here now in America. A lot of these ideas are not new. It's just that they've been corrupted and bastardized because they've been taken to like an unhealthy extreme. I mean, think about it. Which one's easier to manage? A tribe of say 20,000 people or a nation of 300 plus million?
Well,
I think
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, but I wanted to ask you guys, and I guess particularly you, GG, since you talk about negative freedom. Does negative freedom I know we talk about, okay, just the ability to be able to do whatever you want to do and not have repercussions, but then you brought up the guy with the with the 7 baby mamas and why he doesn't understand. He didn't understand why he's fucked up, but really the problem that people have is not that he should be able to do whatever he wants to do, but he doesn't have, the responsibilities or the repercussions of what he does falls negatively on other people. So would the definition of freedom also be that I should be free of not having to pay for your fuck ups?
I mean, I think that's, it could fall up under the rubric of, negative liberty. Like that would come under, the government having to bail people out, for other people's moral impropriety or for their mistakes. But then again, I mean, you got to think, bro, like the government bails out fucking banks and shit like that. I mean, they might not have saved SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, but fuck, they've done some.
But they did
banks.
insure. Yeah, I was about to say they did insure like the people's accounts to like the FDIC and whatnot. They did insure their accounts. I think they announced that.
Up to 200 G's or some shit,
250,000 per account. That's how the FDIC works. And also too, I think there might be looking for like another bank to like buy out their assets, because what happens with that situation is that they had a bunch of I think $80 billion invested in long-term bonds. And what happens is that when there was a bank run on SVB, they had to sell off those long-term bonds at a loss, which caused the bank to collapse because they had that humongous cash shortfall. So, yeah. So again, I've been looking into it. So
I was gonna say along those lines though, I think it's a difference between you're talking a financial bailout versus a social and psychological bailout. I mean, abandoning your damn kids and expecting the government and other people to pick up your fatherhood is a lot different than, okay, I'm gonna bail out these banks because it's people who fucked up, but it's also people who didn't fuck up that has their money in these banks.
But here's my issue, right? Look.
And then
well, let me answer these questions. Okay, let me try to answer them. Okay, so here's how I connect the two and why. Okay.
Okay.
First and foremost, I say this. In today's culture, fathers really don't have any power anyway. Right? We give all this power to women, the choice. But then we demand that men actually take up the burden of taking care of children. So they have these they're vestiges of patriarchy, but there's no actual real, it's like it's like being a king in name only. It's like being a father in name only.
Yeah,
You're a father, you're a fino. You're not really a father, you're a father in name. Which means ultimately the only thing that you have in terms of an obligation is a financial obligation.
Yeah.
But the woman has all of the power in terms of decision making and enculturation and rearing and parenting. But you just need to fund.
Okay, I see where you're going with it. Okay, I see where you're going with it.
In my viewpoint,
it's both financial. It's financial.
You're gonna have to put like if women are the final arbiters of chastity and reproduction, you're gonna have to start making them bitches take care of it, man. I hate to say this, I know it's fucked up, but you're gonna have to say, bitch, you open your fucking legs with like, okay, so if like, let me put it this way, right? Mm-hmm. If I, as a man, starts fucking around with a whole bunch of sluts and I catch a fucking STD, right? I gotta take responsibility for that fucking STD. I can't make that bitch take care of it, especially if I was going out here barebacking, right?
Right.
Now, if a woman knows that she is the final stop when it comes to chastity and reproduction, but she decides, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and fucking have the baby anyway because I just want to be a mom.
Right.
Okay, well, you know what? Bitch, you gotta take care of all the shit. Stop putting men on the hook for irresponsibility related to women outside of the context of marriage. Now, if he married that chick and obligated himself and made a pledge to that chick, see, here's my problem with American culture. American culture treats single mothers like widows, bruh. True. And I have a fucking problem with that shit, man. True. I'm so tired. I'm tired of we're promoting whorism, dog.
So I was about to say I wanted you to expound on that because what I'm not asking about the individuals. I'm asking particularly about the society, the family court law system that we have, or even just the tax system, the way that we're taxed and then it's redistributed to these single mothers or these families, quote unquote families without fathers. Are the men in the greater society not free? Like, let's just say, how many of us don't have children?
I would say that they're being taxed. Like they're being forced to be cucks, really, for other motherfuckers who, doing whatever. Right now, we created a situation where most men are cucks, dog. Because you got to pay for this shit. But I will say this, though. I have to admit that the amount of the fucking taxes that actually are allocated towards it are minuscule, okay, in relation to other areas of spending. I will say that. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a moral issue there nonetheless.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'll say this, though. I'll say, this is why, like, I read a part of my dissertation for y'all a long time ago. I don't know if you even paid attention to it. But what I tried to do was I tried to demonstrate that at one point in time, there were a series of bills on the table. I think it was like the mid-20th century, like the 43 and 45. They were called the Wagner-Murray-Dingle bills. And they would have changed the landscape of how poverty is dealt with in the United States. Okay? But they did, the American Medical Association, the labor unions, and both left and right assholes, both sides of the aisle in the Senate and in the House of Representatives would not let these bills go through, okay? But what we have is the feminization of poverty in America. Right. Instead of dealing with poverty like how it was dealt with after the Great Depression.
Well, that's actually, I guess that's what I guess I was trying to get at was not necessarily, like the banks are, you can quantify bailing out banks, but you can only qualify the feminism in the social cost of this single familyhood in the fatherlessness. You know what I mean?
But I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I also critique what the fuck is going on with these banks. Okay, and I don't think they need to be bailed out either because I think that there's a problem with I'm gonna tell you why. Yeah, I think that right at the current moment, what you see is the financialization of the economy. Okay, which I think is morally problematic. That's just my opinion, right? Now, so you ask me, what is the financialization of the market. Well, it's using financial instruments and investments as opposed to what people used to do traditionally, which is invest in products and goods and services and people. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of speculation. Definitely.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's a lot of market speculation.
It's bullshit, is what it is. It's a group of motherfuckers, man, using like derivatives and
stock options. Yep.
Stock option buybacks, fucking,
Well, options are a real thing,
but what I'm saying about this is
futures.
Is that this is a bubble that is going to burst at some point because basically you got people creating value, not in anything substantive, but creating value in fucking speculating.
Speculation, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not, or cross-collateralizing debt. Meaning that, okay, I'm selling debt.
Yep.
How fucking long can this process, well, I'm going to buy debt in the hopes that this broke motherfucker in the economy is going to be able to pay it back?
Yeah.
That's what caused the financial crisis of 2008. What happened with those mortgage-backed securities? They were a lot of these banks were having loose credit standards for people that had less than subpar credit. They even offered what they call ninja loans, no income, job, or assets. And what happened is that they thought if they could, kind of chop up the mortgage and kind of break up the mortgage into fractures and kind of sell it as a bundle of mortgages. They thought that they could kind of diversify the risk, but in reality is that it just made it even more risky. So again, that's what caused it, especially when Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy. But going back to what you were saying earlier, Green Gorilla, we talk about most men being turned into cucks. Again, as much as we complain about deadbeat dads, I think the harsh reality is that feminists and tradcons, they love deadbeat dads because deadbeat dads are a meat shield to deflect criticism, to absorb all the criticism away from all of their failed policies and how their excessive effeminization of boys has actually created a lot of unnecessary pain and strife in our society. Because like you said, they want you to be responsible for another man's kids, but at the same time, you have no rights over your own kids for real. Like you said, you're a father in name only, but then tell you should do it because of morality and manhood.
And Big Kev, I think that actually ties back into what you were saying, what Green Gorilla was just saying now about buying debt. Is that, they bundle this debt and resell it, and like you say, in hopes of people will pay it back. But what happens is they want to create the environment where people become debt slaves, which is nothing new in the United States. I mean, indentured servitude is, the country is built on indentured servitude. So if anybody's ever going to pay this stuff back, they got to make sure people getting their ass to work. And part of that is a, social creation where they're trying to push this single familyhood, and they don't want people to create wealth. I remember BGS just actually did a video a few days ago where he was talking about how marriage should not be an inhibitor to wealth, but it should be the escape from poverty. And they reversed it. They reversed it. They don't want us to escape from poverty, so they're destroying families.
Exactly.
Like I read a long time ago. Like I don't know. Well, it wasn't a long time ago, but it was long enough ago. About how feminism destroyed the family and some shit like that. Hold on, let me find this motherfucker. Hold on. Feminism.
You're talking about how feminism destroyed the family. Yeah, you made a video about that.
They have incentivized. It's really the people who've done this shit. Some of the groups of people who've done it have been members of the LGBTQ community, where they want the same rights as people who were traditionally, involved in like lifetime marriages, like they want to have lifetime partnerships be the same as lifetime marriages between men and women. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but they went about it again in a very destructive way because, like you said, instead of arguing from what you call the classical libertarian perspective, they went from families are bad, okay, having a father is bad, okay, you don't need no man, okay, and you can go out and do all this stuff on your own. And like you said, they were supporting a lot of these wealth destroying, family anti-male, wealth destroying public policies. And now that, like you said, now that we're stuck, now we're leveraged up to our eyeballs in debt, they're too prideful to admit either that they're wrong or that they did it on purpose because they know the type of backlash that it will receive.
The only thing that fucks me up is this, right? So if marriage is such a bad thing, then why all the fucking gay motherfuckers want to get married and shit?
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I'm
not only that.
Hold on, wait. So it's cool for you to marry and lick a bitch pussy all your life, but you can't marry a man though, because you can't get along with him because of the patriarchy. But two dudes they can blow each other's backs out all day long, right, for the rest of their lives and be cool. But when it comes to men and women being married, then that's a motherfucking difficult thing to do because there's this imbalance and shit, right? You know, like
the power imbalance, and the same thing goes when it comes to women. You know what I mean? Who have been in the streets for a while. You know, they're when they're in their 20s, they talk all this stuff. Marriage is evil. Marriage is bad. It's limiting. It's oppressive. And yet, what are they doing in their, when they're 35, 40, 45? Oh, I need a good man to come and quote unquote save me. Wait, but you're the one telling you about how
the really fucked up thing is the bitch from the Combahee River Collective that was talking all this pro-woman separatist, we fucking ugly ass lesbian bitches, and she married a white boy and shit.
Well,
and got into politics. I can't remember her name right now, but
well, that doesn't surprise. Again, this double consciousness of the black feminist is not an abnormality; it's a main feature. So, literally, if you understand where it comes from and what the intentions are, and as Dr. T and you had pointed out, and where feminism originated from, none of that surprises you. Like none of it. Oh, this fight the power women separatist and uplift black women either ends up being a lesbian married to a white woman or becomes married to a white man. I was like, yeah, that was always the goal. Like all that anti-patriarchy, all that anti-patriarchy nonsense. And you can clip this, like, listen, all that anti-patriarchy nonsense, all the, fight misogyny and all this other stuff. All that is a way of collectively gaslighting working class black men. That is not aimed at elite white men. That's not aimed at the maybe upper like 1% of black men, certain black men, that is. No, that is all that anti-patriarchy, anti-male rhetoric. That's for guys like you and me. That's not meant for, the people who are really, like you said, running these institutions. So,
but wait a minute, most of those people just want to be free through the crotch, though. That's what all those groups do. They free themselves through the motherfucking crotch.
Let me put this shit full circle, right? Mm-hmm. So I started off this show talking about freedom, right? And freedom initially, etymologically, comes from Norse mythology. It comes from the goddess Frey, or Free, or Frigga, or Freya, right? Mm-hmm. Same goddess whom Friday is named after, right? She was the goddess of love in the Nordic or the Teutonic myths, okay? Yeah. And Freya remained with Odin, her husband, not because the bitch submitted, Odin says jump, bitch, and you move how high. No, she didn't stay with him because of that.
Like a dog.
She stayed with him, Odin, because she loved him. She stayed with, like how you love a friend, right?
Yeah.
A lifetime friend. So she stayed with him because of the bond of love, okay, and friendship. Now, freedom itself is connected etymologically to the goddess Freya, okay? So freedom in and of itself is based upon an act of commitment,
right?
Not an act of I'm going out here living my best whole life, thought shit. It's not, okay? Yeah. But freedom today has been construed, especially with the advent of the sexual revolution. It's all like cosmopolitan, like girl, go out here and have sex in the city. Fuck as many guys as you want. And to me, I'm gonna tell you what this is patterned after. This is nothing but a white bitch's way of trying to imitate Hugh Hefner or Larry Flint, bro.
Yeah. I was about to say, yeah, and then you made a good point about the commitment, because even the funky academic, he actually made a video literally just 2 days ago talking about how, basically, family is a certain type of freedom, if you really think about it, and that's the reason why a lot of so-called, leftists don't understand. It's like having family is a certain type of freedom. So,
but that type of freedom has been de-emphasized and devalued in this culture. And the freedom of being able to do whatever you want. You're not the boss of me. You can't tell me what the fuck to do.
Well, I think I got a question actually about what Roger's son and GG, what you guys were talking about earlier when you mentioned that there was a mindset of people who, would basically villainize people who were doing, like, if your life wasn't going so well, you would villainize the people whose lives that was doing better. And as we're talking about this family and wealth building, and it takes me back to like religion and Christianity, when you see this villainization of wealth, and when you see passages like, it's easier for a rich man to pass through the eye of a needle than to get into the gates of heaven. And it makes you kind of think of like, is this something that's not new? Has the powers that be always kind of try to convince people to not seek wealth and not seek certain practices that would let them have wealth building?
I look at this like a philosopher. Okay, so like a philosopher is going to say, if you want to live the good life, especially like ancient. Now, I'm not talking about contemporary philosophy because I think it's all fucked up. Okay, that's just my opinion. Okay, like if I'm gonna study some shit, I'm gonna study the ancients. All right, when we talk about morality, because their societies more closely approximated everybody else's as opposed to today. This is some weird shit. Like what's going on today is weirdo shit. Okay,
right.
Even modernity is weirdo shit. Okay. And what I mean by modernity, I mean like 18th, 19th, 20th centuries, okay?
Right.
But like what I mean to articulate is this. They had myths in the past, ancient societies, to say, okay, well, you need wealth to live the good life, but that's not all that's requisite for you living a good life, okay? Do you need money and resources? Of course. However, I mean, like you can fall in love with money to the point where it's, or have an affinity for money and profit to the point where it's not going to bring you the good life or help you to attain happiness anymore. And they call happiness eudaimonia. Like they have the myth of Midas. Like, I want everything I touch to turn to gold. Like, no, you don't, bro. Like, I love money too, but like money it's not the end of everything. It can't satisfy every good in life. There are things like you need money, right? You need wealth, because no person who that's destitute is happy. Okay, so you living a life of being destitute. I know a lot of people, take on like vows of poverty, like people in the Catholic Church and shit like that, or like monks and things like this. That's supererogatory, okay? Meaning that goes beyond the call of duty, okay? That's hyper moral. But money, like, it won't bring you happiness by itself.
True.
But you need it though in order to be happy. It's a precondition for happiness, but it's not the substratum that guarantees happiness.
Yeah, like money doesn't buy happiness. Money buys options. It's a means to an end. It's not the end in and of itself. So,
well, I mean, even in American society,
can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
In a culture like this, having money can make you a mark and make you the most unhappy of motherfuckers.
Yes.
Like Robin Williams was rich as a motherfucker. Nanu.
Right.
Big man. Like Goodwill Hunting, all that shit. Like everybody loved this white boy.
Depressed.
He was fucking miserable.
Right.
Probably because he probably didn't have any real friends, or if he did, you know, the relationship between them was either weird or strained because he was in Hollywood, which that's just some weirdo shit anyway. Okay, but people in this culture typically who are uber wealthy, either they owe money and dealing with finance or business in ways that Negroes are not. Negroes get rich in this country through entertainment, and then they become business persons. Okay, or sport or athletes, then they become business persons. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that there aren't any deviations from that. That's a lie. Okay, there are, but typically, black people get money by being famous and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, and then after that, they can take it and do something else with it. But fame is a weird thing, man. Like, you think motherfuckers love you, but they don't love you for who you are. They love you for the fame and you know, the clout shit.
Yeah, well, even the big tech guy, I mean, outside of Elon Musk, who's a crazy motherfucker, but if you look at Zuckerberg and Gates and Bezos, they all giving their money away these days. Or at least, you know, they're trying to, you know, if you look like the Waltons or something, you know, Walmart, at least they have 1 billion kids and kind of spread it out.
But you like a motherfucker like Zuck, that's, to me, I'm not saying that, you know, like I'm not against capitalism to a certain extent. The only thing I don't like is the distortion of inequality, not by capitalism itself, but by the emphasis of the market and what's being allowed to be set as the main function of the market at the current moment. So,
yeah, Mr. Z talked about it. It's called neoliberalism.
Well,
you know, have like a market-based approach to everything.
But this is beyond neoliberalism. Like, yeah, like even neoliberalism would be okay to a certain extent. However, outside, if it were based upon a kind of economic policy that was based upon not just short-term profits, but it was dedicated towards long-term growth in investments in the workforce. Okay, so like this country is no longer one in which, you know, like the companies of old, like Ford or General Motors, like their whole thing was let's create better products and create better workers and invest in them so that the brand will grow and become stronger. That's not what's happening now. Okay, so
well, even with, to compound on that, Gigi, even you have in this society, you've got corporations, you know, trumping the government. You know, I hate to, you know, come back to Elon Musk, but I mean, people are, you know, they're saying like, hey, this guy's putting all these satellites up here for his, you know, his SpaceX and his internet, but he's not even passing through, you know, government regulations, and he's doing damage to the whole fucking planet.
Well, that's called
he's
capital
got the money
strike.
to do it.
They call that shit capital strike in political science. It's like,
yeah,
the extent to which capital can influence the decision making of either local or statewide or even federal, governance bodies or whatever the case, or, you know, institutions. But like my whole thing is, America's they've made their own bed, man. Like this shit's gonna get worse before it gets better, bro.
Yeah,
and it's got to collapse before like motherfuckers have worked actively to restructure it to make it, you know, to bear some semblance to common sense and what's actually fair, not just for people making a shit ton of money, but for everybody in the society at large. Like, I mean, at one point, you know, like say for example, you know, Henry Ford. I mean, you can say what you want to about him being an asshole and making his employees work, you know, to the fucking drop. I mean, at least he made it such that the people who work at his company can actually buy the product.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like today, fuck, Walmart ain't paying motherfucker shit. Starbucks ain't paying motherfucker shit. Amazon, I mean, I guess, you know, like $14 an hour here and there in different cities, but they're not. A lot
of Tesla workers came by a Tesla.
Man, I mean, it's just, this is a different day and age, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, the Fordist model of the economy is gone. And this is predicated primarily upon the financialization of the market. This is what it calls. So you got financial engineering, which basically you're creating financial instruments that are designed to get investors, you know, exposure to derivatives, collateralized debt, which is buying and selling debt, right? and structured investment vehicles that nobody really actually can understand the very nature of, because it's all fucking algorithmic. And it's some bullshit. Then you got people scalping, high frequency trading, using the same algorithms and computer programs to try to, you know, profit from small differences in financial, you know, assets or currencies and shit like that. Like, you got huge speculation, right? Leveraging, which is bull, and stock buybacks and shit like that, man. All of this is bullshit, bro. Like, how can you have an economy based upon gambling? Which is all this shit is what it is. It's gambling.
It's
you know what I'm saying?
sophisticated gambling.
But
Yeah, I was about to say.
It's gotten out of control. I mean, you know, when you first study options, you kind of, and you understand, okay, it came from Japan, and you know, speculation on what the, you know, the rice crop would be. The options make sense, but then when you, like you said, when you start leveraging times 100 and rolling it in with another, you know, 5 different, you know, you rolling in biotech with agriculture, with real estate, then nobody understands the shit. You know, it's not.
There's nothing you can speculate about this that it's going to be a matter of actual foresight.
Right.
It's just like fucking crap. Like, it's like a roulette wheel.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, going back to what I was saying earlier about how nobody really knows where the market is going. That's what I was referring to. It's like it's becoming so ultra uber logical that it's actually become basically chaotic in and of itself. And then I also wanted to ask just what Truth is. I know it was saying in the chat. I understand what you're trying to do, bro, but listen, you have to understand. Again, good fences make good neighbors. Again, going back to what BG said before, let's not act like we expected the space to even get this big in the first place. I mean, getting mad at this space, Truth as I know it, for not doing everything that you wanted to do, it's like getting mad at a team for making it to the divisional round where they were. I'm saying it's like getting mad at a team that went 11-6 and made it to the divisional round when they were only projected to go 4-13. Like, let's be real, nobody expected the space to get this big. So, I mean, to just constantly complain about what the space is not doing, I mean, bro, it's pointless. I mean, see a need, feel a need, bro. That's all I have to say about that.
Who you talking about, bro?
Oh, Truth is I know it in the chat. I'm saying, like, I said to make a quick side.
I haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the chat. So, you know,
but I mean, like Gigi said though, I mean, it's got to be a hierarchy in the sense of somebody. At the end of the day, somebody has to be able to tell somebody to sit down. And we live in a society of, you know, uber equality. We don't live by Darwinism. Everybody, you know, everybody's protected by everybody else. But there comes to a point where that can be counterproductive. So
let me. This is the last thing I want to leave with today, right? So let me present this shit, and it's something totally different than what we've been talking about thus far. But I feel like hold on, window, Chrome tab, alpha male shit. Hey man, let me see. Hold on, let me. I'm not subscribing to your shit, man. Okay. There's no such thing as an alpha male. Business Insider, right? So then he goes on, talks about Eric Trump. Eric Trump recently suggested that when his father, Donald Trump, bragged about grabbing women's pussy without consent, it was an example of 2 alpha guys in a thing, talking shit with each other, right? In addition to shedding some light on how Trump's son views his father and manhood, it's also interesting because alpha males actually aren't a thing. Now, to me, this is a bullshit setup. Like, whoever Rafi Letzer is, this is a bullshit setup, but whatever, man. Okay, but the whole point is, I actually agree with this part. I don't think the intro really actually was necessary at all. That was a dig at Trump, and you know, the dude ain't even the president no more, but it probably was written when he was. Anyway, as the writer Saladin Ahmed pointed out, the concept of alpha male wolves that assert dominance over their pack through aggression comes from a debunked model of lupine social groups. So it all comes from like a study on wolves, okay? So a reminder to scientists who coined the term alpha male to describe wolves abandoned it as useless years ago. So David Meck introduced the idea of the alpha to describe behavior observed in captive animals. Now, this is the facts, okay? I know that David Meck is the individual who came up with this idea, right? He's the one that came up with it, or another one is somebody he bought it from. But the whole point is, David Meck, I remember seeing that name, okay, as I did research on this my damn self, okay? He wrote in a 1970 book, The Wolf, Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species, win control of their packs in violent fights with other males, right? But as he outlined in a 1999 paper, so this is 30 years later, he since rejected that idea in light of research into the behavior of wolves in the wild. Now, he's observing captive animals having a discussion about what their nature is like, but in the real, like in nature, wolves are not like that, bro. That's not how they fuck around and get down, bro. When they hurt, like some alpha male beats the shit out of the other one to be in charge. So he the head wolf in charge. That's not how this shit works, bro. Okay? So, in nature, wolves split off from their packs when they mature and seek out opposite sex companions with whom to form new packs.
Makes sense.
Hey, dog, nice to holler. Dog, me and you was cool, nigga. You know what I'm saying? But hey, me and you, like it's like Biggie Smalls said, you know, it's like two dicks with no chicks, some serious shit. I got to go off and do my thing, you do yours.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll holler at each other, you know, but like, I'm about to go start a family, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, the male and female co-dominate the new pack for a much simpler, more peaceful reason. They're the parents of all the pups. Meck writes on his website that his original book is currently still in print, despite my numerous pleas to the publisher to stop publishing this shit. Okay? Now, look. So anyway, in the 2003 book, Sexual Selections, what we can and can't learn about sex from animals. I'm not gonna even. Social groups of hens do have pecking orders and shit like that. That is hierarchies among the females with dominance asserted through pecking and all this. But roosters are not part of those social groups. They don't know pecking orders and males and shit. Males is like, fuck, I'm not about to fight you over these hoes. I'm about to go out there and get my own.
There's plenty of them out here.
Right.
look, all of us are outnumbered by women. You know what I'm saying? All males are outnumbered by females. So it's like, hey.
Don't tell women that though.
Well, I mean, their idea of no questioning. Women do love motherfuckers, attractive males in every species. Okay, that kind of fit into their paradigm of what they consider to be suitable and strong in a mate. But like, I'm not even saying that all species like have lifelong relationships and shit or shit like that.
Right.
However, like this whole idea of like the alpha male, like I'm the top dog and I run shit. Dude, man, like that's some desperate shit to me, bruh. Like, dog, man, fuck these bitches like that, man. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, I mean, why are you working so fucking hard to be high value so you can give all your shit to a chick? Why?
It's compensatory.
I don't get it, bro. Like, I am fucking lost with this, bro. Like, niggas is breaking themselves to get money so they can just fork the shit over to a chick, man.
Well, that was one of the elements of the high value manism that I had an issue with, because it permitted a certain modicum of suckerism, and suckerism ain't permitted.
But it's a microcosm of it's a thought process of lack of limited and lack of resources. When you have a mindset that it's plenty of women out there, you're not going to be sitting there trying to fight other men over it. But if you feel like it's all you got, and it's a shortage, then that's what they do.
I said this shit a long time ago. I said, hey, bro, I don't have principally, I'm for passport bros, all that shit, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I'm cool with it. However, if all you want to do is reproduce the Stepford Wives type idea that you got a perfect bitch, she gonna bring you clothes, like clothes and food and an apron and shit like that, bro, I'm like, bruh, time is not gonna, reverse. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Are they
You
searching
this
for a
ain't HD.
stereotype, or are they searching for an essential character element in women?
Look, this is what I say, right? You bring a woman to this, marry that chick, stay your ass where she
Stay
at.
over there. You got to stay. Yeah.
Don't bring her back here
bring her back.
because Eddie Murphy already gave you game on that shit a long time ago.
Yeah, I was about to say, BTS actually already talked about this. It said, ideally, you will want to expatriate to that country, but even if you bring her back, think the rate of divorce is like 12%. So again, literally, it's just basically it's like this. When it comes to that whole passport bros thing, literally, if you're a woman from another culture, if you literally just do the basic stuff that a woman is expected to do as far as being like likable, cooperative, chaste if you're looking for marriage, or discreet if you're going to be out there, out and about that. And if you do that basic shit consistently, like you're just going to have an abundance of options of men, you know what I mean? Both within their own country and
as somebody who has a current Somali wife and an ex-Kenyan wife,
right.
It's a lot deeper than that, bro.
Yeah, obviously.
So,
I know there are going to be cultural differences, obviously, but it's just like,
Well, it's a financial thing too, but
exactly.
We'll be way off topic if I get into
But here's the thing, right? This is what motherfuckers don't get. You marry one of them chicks, you gotta assume the role of a man in that culture.
Well, but the thing is, a man in that culture doesn't get taxed the way the foreigners do. I try to tell the brothers like this all the time. When I went to pay my dowry for my Kenyan wife, they asked me for, and my Kenyan homeboys was like, they ask you for that? Like, they would never ask that shit from a Kenyan man because they would never fucking get it. So
that's exactly.
So you're going to get taxed for being a foreigner.
You gonna pay the foreign tax. And you still, even them dudes gotta be the motherfucker. They gotta be the financial dude, man. They gotta pay for the shit. Like if you got a wife, nigga, you gotta pay for that shit.
True.
It ain't like, okay, well, bitch, we gonna get your ass to work. No, it's you the motherfucker responsible for that shit. So look, I have no issue if that's the tack that a man wants to take. I'm fine with it. If that's what you want to do, cool. Do you want to do that shit? Fine. All I'm saying is, bro. Like, this Western shit, even in foreign countries like Africa, Angola, Kenya, Nigeria, them motherfuckers are they're neo-colonial fucking
British
African nations, bro.
Yeah, they're dealing with
cultures that come from Britain and France and shit, bro. Belgium and shit like that. So the norms that the motherfuckers in them cultures have about marriage and shit, they're not really actually authentically African anymore, dog.
Nope. Unless they come from a Muslim country. But Gigi, what you're saying is kind of funny because, in this space, we always make fun of the women. Black women want to be Miss Ann, but we don't talk about how, black men are taking on, they want to be Mr. I mean, that's why you confused. You're saying you don't know why dudes want to be like this, but they want to be like the white man just as much
because
as
niggas are not abusive.
Like
because niggas are not abusive. Okay. That's why we don't talk about it, because again, you have to understand the whole concept of what we know as quote unquote respecting women's comes from the very tribal form of leadership that we had before the Europeans arrived here in Americas and Africa, etc. The whole concept of women having the right to vote, divorce rights, property rights, etc., is not new. We were already doing this before European colonization. The difference is that back then, those women still had a duty to their husband and their family. It wasn't no get out of jail free card like what we have right now. That's the problem right now. It's the narrative is that women should have these freedoms or these liberties and not have a duty to their husband or their family, which is why there's so much unnecessary stress and strife going on. But the concept in and of itself is not new. The problem is that we've been told.
That's a religion, bro. It's not a
let me just say this shit, bro. Let me just I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna tell you. The reason I said freedom was the main topic of the show was because contemporarily, like, let's just be frank about this shit. Freedom means freedom to fuck who you want and to not have to bear the responsibility of having been fucked. In a negative
way. So when I say freedom, I mean negative liberty, not the type of liberty like associated with Freya or Frigga, right? I'm talking about freedom to like do whatever the fuck you want. I'm a party like it's 1999, goddammit. I'm fucking every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You know, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want to do. And to be quite frank, look, I as a youngster, man, I came up, I kind of like lionized, you know, Playboy magazine. Like, I'm a Hugh Hefner type. I've got all these bitches and shit. Like, that nigga was too old for that shit anyway, man. Like, at a certain point, man, like, dog, you 65, dog. Why you got all these young bitches around you, dog? Like, I mean, you can't knock them down, I know. You know what I'm saying? And if you do, you getting juice for bread, dog. You just got a whole bunch of hoes and courtesans around you, dog. Which look, if that's what you like, I'm fine with it, cool. But them bitches don't love you, dog. You not gonna tell me no 20-year-old bitch is loving Hugh Hefner, nigga, because she love that dude for real. She loved the whole glamour associated with being able to be around a mansion and all this shit.
Right.
Them bitches ain't fucking with you because they fuck with you. So at the end of the day, man, I'm like, dude, that's one dude out of how many millions of men that exist on the planet, dog. Everybody can't be the playboy, have a big ass mansion, and have 100 hoes walking around in bunny outfits and shit like that.
Right. And he just didn't do that.
They're not in love with the women either. They're in love with the life, the glamour, the lifestyle. That's why the first thing they do when they get a bunch of bitches is they run over to us, to the other guys, and start bragging about how many bitches they fucking.
But here's the problem. This is the only thing I'm saying, right? To me, the sexual revolution, in a sense, was women perceiving what men were doing, particularly a small group of men, like we always talk about, right? The 80-20 shit, which I'm not a big subscriber to, but in this instance, I'm going to utilize it for rhetorical effect. So the whole point is, okay, so now you got women who want to be like the most licentious, the most libertine, and the most piggish dudes. You know, like just recklessly, living like lifestyles of conspicuous consumption to play. Now, every bitch want to be a playboy too. First of all, like every man ain't a playboy to begin with. Every man ain't living that lifestyle where they out fucking hundreds of bitches and shit.
Right.
But now you done made it to where you want to be like, well, men do it. Men get to do it. Man, look, bitch. The average man is not fucking 1,000 hoes, man.
It's all about the image, man.
Now, if you're a woman fucking 1,000 dudes, you are not living the life, babe. You're not. You just giving up what's precious away to every goddamn body for what?
But wait a minute.
A pig can fuck. A dog can fuck. A monkey can fuck. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the woman's value is not going to be, enmeshed in all of this sexual freedom, to fuck who you want, to have orgasms.
Yeah.
Like, this to me, bro, I think this shit is out of hand. Now, this country is so sexually perverse.
With the guys, they're doing the same thing. It's like, one of the reasons women don't respect the money is because we don't respect our money. Here in Atlanta, man, you can go to the strip club and you'll see these young motherfuckers sitting around with their boys in the strip club, smoking and popping mollies and just throwing money straight up in the air. They're not even looking at the strippers because it's all about the image. They trying to show an image to their boys. They not even get a lap dance, nigga. You just spent $300 in the club and then get single damn fucking lap dance.
Bro, let me tell you something, man. Okay, we got several strip clubs in the greater St. Louis area. It used to be. Touch,
I'm familiar with East St. Louis.
Pink Slip. So I go to that motherfucker. Now, back in the day, I was a heavy drinker, and a blunt smoker. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So would you like a damn man? I'm spending $20 in this motherfucker. After the $20 is up, I will spectate, but I will not participate. Holla at you. And it wasn't like I was broke in that motherfucker.
Right.
Because I was doing some shit that I ain't had no business doing. I had a lot of bread. Okay? But I'm not about to be breaking myself spending this shit on you. If anything, I'm going to be talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, sometimes the bitches want to come talk to you like,
Yeah, see if you can knock her.
Hey, shit. Well, you know, like feel all on you and shit like, bitch, hey, look here, man. I'm supposed to be feeling on you. You ain't about to be doing all that here, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck all
look,
that.
I done spent many a night in the pink slip. And what's the joint around the corner from the pink slip? Bottoms up?
Bottoms up. Soft touch.
Very familiar.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, that, you know, you already know what it is. So
exactly.
But my whole thing is, bruh, I'm not about to be in a motherfucking strip club breaking myself. Man, look, some niggas get in that motherfucker, they love to get their dicks hard and get rubbed and go to the private and, you know, get fucked off or jacked off or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or have real sex or whatever. Me, bruh, that sort of shit don't get me off, dog. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it ain't like I don't like fat ass and big titties and shit like that. Love that. But goddamn, it's something about everybody fucking that bitch. Just like it's not the great. I ain't gonna say I ain't never smashed. You know what I'm saying? A slut or nothing like that. I'm just saying like it's not like the greatest thing in the world to me. It's not like super exciting. You know what I'm saying? This is not, bro. You know what I mean? Like
you eventually grow out of it. That's the thing. Unless it's a business venture to where it's more of a networking thing. And that's really what it's supposed to be, right? Like some cats,
they just in there trying to show out for whatever.
Yeah, they in there tricking off when you're supposed to be networking. Because I mean, you got to also understand them bitches see everybody, cuz. So,
but it's one thing. Look, Atlanta is different than St. Louis, bro. So I can say this: in St. Louis, it's a bunch of rock gutter ass. You talk about pookies, nigga.
Yeah.
Them motherfuckers is in the pink slip and it bottoms up, dog.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna see no CEOs, motherfuckers who A&Rs and product managers and store. Them type niggas is not in pink slip and bottoms up, dog. I'm not disrespecting no niggas from the Lou. I'm not. But like, the culture in Atlanta is different than the culture in St. Louis. The business and the shit that's taking place, the music industry used to be symbiotic with the strip clubs in Atlanta. Okay?
True.
Right.
Not in the Lou. Okay?
Right.
So going to the strip club to network, nigga, we going there purely for Epicurean purposes or to talk shit to each other and to laugh or some shit.
Right.
True.
That's it. We ain't go like, or either if you that type of nigga, you know what your mission is, you gonna pick one of these hoes and you gonna fuck.
True.
Or get you or whatever. Okay? Bottom line. Those are the only options. Fun, drink. To me, the strip club got the best wings in the East St. Louis, dog. Any bar, grill you can go to in any St. Louis area, they got the best wings and shit. Best bar food by a mile.
Yeah,
I mean,
people
ran rave about the cheetah in Atlanta. They say the cheetah got the best kitchen. They kitchen better than Papado's.
Yo, they pull their seasonings from home, dog. The thing is that most strip clubs are absolutely family owned.
Well, no, I'm talking about the cheetah. Cheetah is a damn, that's a corporate. That's it's a cheetah in every city.
Okay.
It's like,
but my whole thing is, so I can see motherfuckers in Atlanta networking in the strip club and shit, or being seen, because you can actually fucking pay a DJ to make a song. Well, this was 15, 20 years ago though, so that shit is over with though. That's dead. Today, you got to be a stripper to get paid in the rap game.
That's a damn shame too.
That's fucked up, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, look at the new rappers are women imitating the fucking the degenerate behavior of niggas.
Right.
So now they shooting motherfuckers now and talking about sipping promethazine
and
smoking blunts and shit.
You heard
now
that
they
song?
rolling blunts and shit.
That Glorilla Cardi B shit.
They talking about, I'm getting that, trying to get some noggin. The chicks are saying this shit. I'm trying to get that. This shit don't win. I'm saying women now want to be like niggas.
Yes.
Well, they never saw
Absolutely.
no freedom in their own strength. That was the issue that they, you know what I'm saying, the whole thing with their freedom. It's, you know, it's crotch freedom. It's to me, it's all just crotch liberation. You know what I'm saying? All right, bitch, you ain't nothing but a fucking gaggle of hoes, a whole nation of hoes. And we acting like the whole energy or the whole characteristic couldn't digivolve. You know what I'm saying? Take these bitches to that other level to where apparently it looks like they're going from
But this shit does
70
not
to-
make women or men happy in the long run.
No, it
Well,
does
yeah,
not.
because I was about to say the reason why it is simply because of this. Listen, okay. As much
Shout
as
out
and
to
again,
Dusty Nuts. Shout out to
and
Dusty Nuts.
that's a hilarious username. But like listen, here's the harsh truth about it that we in the space have pointed this out like 1,000 times before, but you have to constantly remind people. Listen, first of all, it has always been easier for a woman, especially an attractive woman, to get dick than it has been for a guy to get pussy. Like it's never like that's always been the case, especially in their 20s. A 22-year-old woman, you know what I mean, who's attractive, you know what I mean. She's gonna have more options and more opportunities to have sex than the average guy, like ever. Like it's not even like ever, like literally, like what and this what women don't want to accept. Okay, what curtails a lot of male promiscuity is simply the fact that we deal with a fuck ton more rejection than they do. I mean, yeah, women can get rejected, but most of the time, guys are going to say, yeah. Okay, so because of that simple reality of nature, it's always going to be easier for them to sleep around than it is going to be for us. Okay, but the paradox
don't you think
here,
that's the functionality of who's asking and who's not. Because I mean, look, it's plenty of fat bitches that can get fucked, but men won't approach them. Like women just simply get approached more than men do.
Motherfuckers is approaching fat bitches out here. These fat bitches
and
be
they
having new babies all the time out here.
That's why I say I don't think it's easier for women to get it than men. An attractive man.
No, I'm saying even for an attractive man, he's gonna have to deal with a lot more rejection than an attractive woman. I mean, like, and no, I'm saying no. Yeah. You can talk to. You can talk. Listen, Gigi, have you dealt with more? Listen,
I don't know because I don't know what a woman does in terms of rejection.
Exactly.
Let me just put it this way, Kel and Vector. Let me put it this way. I do know for a fact though that as a man, you will get rejected. It happens. Okay. Now I myself, when I was younger, I really, I kind of gave a fuck about it. I was a little conscious about it. Like, what's wrong with me type shit. But I met a group of guys in college and shit, and they didn't give a fuck. They were like, look, this is the law of averages, guy. Grow a pair of nuts and fuck what these hoes thinking about and how they feel. If she don't like you, her friend might.
Her friend
Try to fuck her friend.
Yep.
Talk to the bitch right next to her.
Yep.
Don't give a fuck about none of these bitches at all. Don't care. Okay?
Yeah, basically, to put it another way, when it comes to guys, okay, getting women, especially getting a lot of women, it's like working in sales. Okay, you're going to deal with a lot of rejection. You got to hunt for that yes, so to speak. Whereas for women, when it comes to them getting dick, it's like going shopping. Okay, if it's in stock, great. If it's out of stock, no big deal. You can always come back another day.
But the women can't always fuck who they want to fuck though. That's what I'm saying. It's not easy. It might.
Yes and no.
If you're gonna throw quality out the window, meaning women can get dick from any motherfucker that they don't necessarily want to fuck, then I can say that's the same for men too.
I done turned down some bad bitches, man. Look,
but
hey, bro, I'm gonna say this. I done had some bad bitches, man, that I know I could have smashed, and I just didn't smash them. Now, it could have been various reasons why I didn't smash them. Like, sometimes, I was involved in a committed relationship, and I knew I could fuck these bitches, but I'm like, I don't even want to fuck them. And they would try, you know what I'm saying? You know when the chick is being flirtatious and shit, when they landed on heavy or whatever, like Mrs. Parker and the professor or some shit, okay, that I can get this ass. But I'm like, okay, or the chick, I wasn't even in a relationship, but it was some other bitch pulling me that the pussy was good and this was an option, but niggas do the same shit that bitches do to niggas.
Well,
niggas do the shit to chicks, man.
again, just like working in sales. Okay, if you look at sales, what do they say? It costs less money to retain a current customer than it is to go out there and get new customers.
Yeah,
So
this is
again,
true.
same principle. That's what I'm saying. Like for guys, it's like working in sales. You're gonna get rejected. If you're able to maintain every level of stability, you're winning. Okay,
But it is the truth, though. I think Kevin is right, though, when he says women, they gonna get less turn downs because a nigga smash a bitch. I personally won't, because I don't know, man. I gotta maybe I'm funny, man. Maybe I am snooty or whatever the case may be.
It's not just you. It's not just you.
I just don't like. I can't, like, if she got booty do disease, you know what I'm saying? I can't fuck with her, dog.
Well, no,
You know
it's
what I'm
another
saying?
thing too. Like
I can't do
also
it, bro.
it depends on your personality. I mean, when I was in Germany, man, when I was deployed in Germany, it was all kind of German chicks trying to get at me. But it was just I didn't want to be fetishized. I felt when a woman come at you so hard just for sex, it kind of make you feel like a bitch. You'd be like, hold on.
That's for that's
You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, I ain't your boy toy.
Right, just be like, so what do you think I am? Some kind of a slut? Start crying. Like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you just looking at me. Like, it's more to I bring more to the table than just my body. Start complaining.
Look, the thing is, they claim that they want to be spent, but they don't want to be spent. They want the attention. It's more the attention part. Because if you're dealing with a slut could still be a lady. She just ain't finna let the whole damn, community know that she want to fuck that bad. That's what hoes do. And I think most cats is interacting with hoes and trying to pretend that they ain't. And that's where, the fuck up then went. Because within the social conditioning, look, if you look at Cardi B's, trajectory from her start to where she is now, you could see that there was an uptick in women who were thought to have been, upright women or whatever, aligning themselves with that ethic. And I mean, everything about her said hoe, dirty motherfucking hoe. You know what I'm talking about? And then it came out later, what she was into, what she did, when she used to trick motherfuckers and all that, yada, yada, yada. But the way that women responded to her, I just like the fact that she's so real. Oh, she's so real. She's so real. I'm like, yeah, bitch, is she a real hoe? But they projected her into, Beyonce status, really. You know what I mean? Well, so it made you think what happened with the worth of traditional lady.
Well, again,
go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, well, listen, you have to understand Western society, what they promote in relationships is Captain Save-A-Hoism, okay? Because think about it. Again, going back to what Gigi was saying, okay? Think about it. We do all this virtue signaling and pass all these laws and say polygamy is evil, prostitution is evil, the epitome of evil, and you're exploiting women and all this other BS, right? Yet, what are we turning around and doing? You know what I mean? A lot of these women are sharing the same dudes, like that one dude who had seven kids by 7 different women. We promote, like you said, strip clubs and OnlyFans, and we promote the sexual revolution and all this other stuff. So we demonize prostitution and polygamy, but only to turn around and practice it in a more chaotic and dysfunctional way.
But I don't want to be the old man here, but we got to be honest. You say like the women want to be men. Well, you got to draw that all the way out, because the guys we did it. We went. I was born in '77, man. I grew up on Public Enemy, X-Clan, KRS-One. But then once I got to college, man, what did we see? We saw Jay-Z. We saw the music industry push the Dope Boys. They pushed the Jay-Z's. They pushed the Biggie Smalls. They pushed 50 Cent out there. So that's just what they did. They're doing with the women. They say, okay, we could take the Dope Boys and make them the respectable men, and we're gonna take the strippers and make them the respectable women.
Well,
it's the same game.
Let me just put it this way, right? I was born in '71, so like hip hop to me was, like hip, the hop, the hibbit. It was, the message. Don't push me. I'm too close to the edge. It was the boogie down Bronx. You know what I'm saying? It was, right. It's the space cowboy in this galaxy. He had 2 laser guns. It was break dancing and DJing. It was the fact boys, do. It was all kind of shit. You know, it was a whole bunch of different things, not just these bitches and I'm murdering motherfuckers and shit like this. It was a whole
Killing
bunch of different
everybody.
things, right? UTFO, Houdini friends, how many of us have them? It was Run DMC. I'm the king of rock. It was
Right,
LL
it's
Cool
Chicky
J.
Do Rocker Rhyme to Rocker Rhyme. That's right, on time. It's tricky.
It was
tricky,
a whole bunch
tricky.
of so it was a whole bunch of different shit. Okay, now, but one thing it wasn't was I'm about to just fall in love with these hoes. It was never that.
Yeah. Yep.
It was
yep.
no, wait it. Like, only towards the end of the 90s and the early 2000s did I start hearing motherfuckers say, I'm in love with a stripper.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
Hey,
I was about to say,
just last week.
The
just
chick in the
last
club,
week.
like the chick in the club is the one I'm shooting for.
Hey, GG, who said this? I refuse to abuse my savings and loans, so if you're looking for the ends, baby, go get your own.
Nah, I don't know who that is, but
that's Funky Dividends, 3 times dope.
Okay,
You don't remember that?
Dope. Dad Nicholas one.
Look.
Yeah, okay. Look. Hey, look. All I can say is, all I'm saying is, I don't recall all of this whore jocking. Like niggas will smash them, but not marry them, man.
Yeah.
Like all of this shit, like motherfuckers will be like, okay, well look, I understand that it's a distinction. Today there is no distinction.
None.
yeah.
And
Like I said, blurring. Like I said, that Captain Saberhole culture, blurring the line between women that are hoes and women that are not, so to make it impossible to tell the difference. Yeah, and like you said, Rob Wills called it acculturated prostitution. Where basically, again, we say technically prostitution is illegal in most of the U.S., yet we turn around and promote prostitution that's like under the table. Or just prostitution by way of another name. So
that logo right there look like Pac-Man, mad as a motherfucker, man. That shit right there. Kills me every time I see it. Let's go. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, I get it, man. It seems like we have normalized whorism, and all I can say is I blame it on ATL rap culture, bro. I'm keeping it real, man. I blame this shit on and Biggie Smalls and Puff Daddy and shit.
Puff, old Marquez.
So you won't even take it all the way back to Luke and 2 Live Crew and Too Short.
They didn't become an archetype.
No, because they was just smashing them and shit. They wasn't marrying them.
True, that's true.
They wasn't talking about marrying. They wasn't like, I'm falling in love with the stripper. They was like, hey,
it ain't tricking if you got it.
Hey, man, let me see, get them things, get them. They wasn't like, I love this bitch. They wasn't like, ooh. They wasn't like, I'm gonna make you my shorty. They wasn't saying nothing like that, bro. They wasn't like, nigga, like, I'm gonna buy you this, like Mitsubishi. He beat me, meet me at 12.
I'm gonna buy you.
Isn't this great? Like, I'm buying babies. I'm buying the Lexuses and all this shit. Like, no, man, no.
A Mega Million trick.
Yeah, that's the greatest.
But Biggie wasn't on that shit. Biggie wasn't really on that. Puffy put him on that because he wanted to sell money to women. He wanted to sell a dream to women. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But niggas being who they are, like this culture, man, black folks, man, don't have a culture outside of entertainment, bro. It might sound fucked up for me to say, not to say we never did, okay? And not to see that there aren't people who, have pockets where culture is created amongst black folks. But like the masses of black folks, especially the ghetto poor, dog, all they do is imitate what the fuck they see on TV or the videos or Instagram now.
But it all falls into the pantheon of entertaining pilgrims, though. So you can say entertainment, but let's say pleasing pilgrims in some form. You know what I'm saying? And the direct aspect of it, due to them being declared the mainstream, the whole element of crossing over. Oh, you don't cross over until you get their approval.
But shit, look, hey dog, they run hip hop now. White boys run hip hop. The motherfucker.
Run all entertainment.
All right, then, Gigi, I'm about to hop off the panel, man. Thanks for having me up.
Hey, Big Kev, thank you for coming by,
Big
man. You're
Kev,
always
thanks,
welcome.
man.
Yep. Bye.
But I think it goes towards the greater, just praising of any type of woman. I mean, a lot of people get on me because, I don't like the song "Dear Mama" by Tupac. I think it take a little too far. But, even when we're talking about any type of woman, not just the sluts and hoe, but just anything, nothing is seen bad anymore. Everything it's all good. All good. Everything is all good.
Well, like
no matter what the behavior.
Look, Kalan said Keith Sweat always was a. Let me just say this, okay? So Keith Sweat, to me, he was more like a lounge singer. He wasn't like old heads always listen to Keith Sweat type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like like the type
Baby
of motherfuckers
face.
drink a hard ass. You can bring your own bottle to the fucking lounge and shit type shit. You know what I'm saying? Instead of serving drinks, you can just buy a fifth of that motherfucker or something. That's the sort of music he had. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I didn't have no problem with Keith Sweat if Keith Sweat was just in his lane, okay?
Right.
But then everybody began to, start crying about these chicks and shit, man. And he always whined too much for me anyway.
Oh yeah,
man.
all of them. Brian McKnight, Boys II Men, even Jodeci a little bit. Jodeci was simping a little bit too,
But
that whole mid '90s.
But love was a possibility in the minds of young niggas back then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
Including me. That shit influenced me heavy.
Like I would listen to Joe. Do you believe in love and all the promise that it gives? You know, I want to love you for life because your love is why I live, sort of shit. I mean, you put that on, you gonna get the pussy.
Yeah. But then R. Kelly came out.
Oh man, R. Kelly was just about gut, like just fucking and just.
But see, that was the honesty though, and people shouldn't have, roll so hard on homie. That was the honesty, and people don't think that Chicago is freaky like that. He shouldn't have been fucking with them teeny boppers though. That's 20, what they do out there, man. Look, everybody then saw the motherfucker coming up to pick up the chick who was in her teens. Who he don't go to your school and he got a car and he come to pick her up. Everybody in every high school done seen that social whatever take place, that social phenomenon, right?
Yeah. He was too famous for it. Like
that's all it is. That's the only thing.
Dude, like if you man, like if I'm 25, I'm 30, and like I'm a superstar. Man, I'm fucking these badass model bitches if that's what I got to do.
I'm fucking a bad bitch that come to me if it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I'm on the top, and I got motherfucking, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to nobody high school if I'm R. Kelly.
No, not that. But they bringing bitches to you, and then if you saw that it was the parents that was bringing their daughters in.
He said it himself, man, a long time ago. He said, "Please show me some ID before I get me deep." Oh, I don't see. I got to see the ID. Fuck all that bullshit. I'm not smashing no fucking teeny bopper bitches. Exactly. I'm R. Kelly, bro. No.
And if you take your ass to Hawaii, them Samoan young girls will try to holler at you. Shit.
That's all across the continent too. In Africa, man. Look, man, them little girls, shit. As soon as they hit 16, they all up in your face.
That's like KRS said a long time ago, man. He said the girls look so good, but their mind is not ready.
Oh, you talking about Chia Lee? That Chia Lee boy?
That's the Chia Lee got his shit from KRS.
From KRS, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'd rather talk to a woman because her mind is so steady. Now here we go.
Yeah.
That's that criminal minded. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, that's KRS. So all I can say is, man, look, the game, all I say, white boys run hip hop now. If you look at the producers, you got Murder Beats. I mean, not to say it's no black guys still in it, but it's a lot of white dudes out here making motherfucking, like the Migos, Murder Beats. That's a white boy making them beats.
Look, that shit is easy to make now. Like once some motherfuckers done dumbed the shit down to where you have motherfuckers from North Korea be like, oh, I can do this. You know what I mean?
But when you think about it though, Def Jam was always Rick Rubin. I mean, even Run DMC, was Rick Rubin and No,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
them
that was
guys was
it was
always
still
around.
corny though. That shit was still considered corny. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
To
with
the
the
block.
producers?
Rock the Bells was hard as a motherfucker,
Producers?
man.
No, that
Beastie Boys.
what was that shit that he mixed with the Peckerwoods with the guitar? That shit was goofy.
Which one? Which one? Which
Walk
song
This
was
Way?
That was that what that? Yeah, that was goofy.
Yeah, it was a little goofy, but
That was goofy because you had the message, right? You had cats who was singing "Get Down, Get Down." You remember that one? You had, I mean, come on, bro.
But I mean,
you
look,
had
man,
Scooty D.
it's not all black. I mean, if you just go back to, you know, breaking and all, you know, Crush Groove and all that else. I mean, Hispanics and white guys were always around.
I ain't saying they wasn't around, but the thing is, they wasn't trying to run
Paul
the
Revere
industry.
was a hard ass Beastie Boy song, man.
Look, the Beastie Boys was
Okay,
hard.
so
It's
we
the
give
New
them
Style was a hard ass Beastie Boy song. I'm just saying. Or like Mantronics, he was a Latino motherfucker from the UK. I used to love Mantronics shit. You know, I'm not saying like I think that the art form is a black thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's not. But it's been some white motherfuckers around. But today they done took over the shit, bro. Like if even on YouTube, go look at who doing commentary on what's going on in hip hop. It's a white boy, and they got like 1 million followers and shit. Talking about niggas getting locked up and shit.
Yeah.
Go look at Rizzle. Like you ever seen that shit? Rizzle or Vlad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like or like different white boys talking about, you know what I'm saying, no jumper and some shit like that. Like this white boy shit, man.
So you come right back to the whole element of what did freedom actually mean for us, and if it meant something that was far fetched, then perhaps maybe, you know what I'm saying, certain sectors of our community was issued certain elements of freedom that the system could digest if they would operate within, you know what I'm saying, value standard, social standard, whatever. You know what I mean? This what we get right back to the whole element of culture. What and that which is what binds a people. And I define culture as the way that a people lives through reality, as if lifing is a verb or can be a verb. Whatever, you know what I'm saying, binds them as they, you know, go through reality or whatever. More ways, folk ways, you know what I'm saying, traditions, speech, dress, you know what I'm saying, take your pick.
Right.
Obviously, that which binds the people and permits them to build within themselves intrinsic work, as well as that which the world can perceive as them, you know what I'm saying, being able to provide of objective material worth, you know what I'm saying, as well. Because everybody do that, you know, pottery or, again, you know, back to clothes or whatever.
So anyway, this is a picture of Libertas. You know,
okay. You said that earlier, yeah.
Yeah, like you know, it's always seen as a woman. You know, Roman goddess of freedom. But you know, of course, it wasn't just perceived as, you know, like licentiousness. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole different vibration to it. You know what I'm saying? So let me see if I can find if there is even a goddess called Licentia. He got some fucking video game bullshit. Let me see, license. Maybe I misspelled it, but I don't think there's an S in it. I don't think it is. Nope. It's really actually just a C too. It ain't no S in it.
I didn't know that the terminology freedom came from that Norse mythology.
Yeah, bro.
That's some good knowledge right there. I was not up on that.
Licentia. What is the English like?
Dessalines said something interesting. He said there was not a lot of white boys around hip hop. Where I was growing up, there was not. Them motherfuckers was scared of that shit.
No, they wasn't. They was fucking with
Shit, man. I was born and raised in Detroit, bro. White boys all over that shit.
Well, I mean, you know,
Eminem is not was not a surprise to anybody from Detroit.
But you know, like, okay, so I'm gonna tell you this: white boys was into hip hop to a certain extent, but like most of them white boys, they was into Guns N' Roses and motherfucking Metallica and you know,
Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that sort of shit. The
Yep.
big hairband motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Snake and all that, white snake and all that old shit.
Now, I mean, I grew up listening to that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can appreciate some of it. You know what I mean? But
Shout out Cannibal Corpse.
yeah, I used to love Nirvana and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Nirvana rocked though. Nirvana rocked.
But like, man, all I can say is, bro, but they got that shit now, bro. Like, they got it now, bro. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to hip hop, man, them motherfuckers produce. Like, they got all the tutorials and shit on YouTube, like how to make your 808s knock and shit like that. It's white boys, bro.
But see, that's the thing. It makes you think about the whole element of what they show you in those movies, right? The whole fanciful movies where the deity is trying his damnedest to be remembered. You know what I'm saying? And that's its power. You know what I'm saying? So say that it, hence why they show them connecting the children or something. And it's like, yo, okay, trying to be remembered, Santa Claus or whatever, right? Well, what does it take to have one's identity solidified within the world as them? Obviously, a continuation of participating, of valuing, your worth, that your identity is to the world, and not just, what you produce. But yeah, we got collection plate there.
Yeah, shout out to my brother Sand Dog, you know what I'm saying? What's cracking with you, bro? What's cracking with you, bro? With the AED currency and shit. You know what I mean?
The Emirati. Oh, he's in the Emirates.
Yeah,
the dirhams. Okay.
The AED, United Arab Emirates. Shout out to Sand Dog. What's good with you, dog? Rue.
Salam.
Yeah, he says, to us, freedom and acceptance are the same thing. UNIA and Nation of Islam offered the necessary catalyst for cultural establishment and change. Unfortunately, we desired hedonism over discipline and freedom. So, I think that, it all depends on what kind of freedom you're talking about. To me, licentiate really only leads to, a kind of animal form of freedom. Whereas the freedom of self-perfection, I would call it virtue, to me entails perfecting a craft and becoming a virtuoso at something. Like, it could be in a variety of different domains. It could be athletics or any, sport like tennis, basketball, baseball, hockey, football, track and field. Like, to become excellent at something, you got to dedicate yourself to it and sacrifice. Right. But there's a certain amount of freedom that comes from acquiring a skill in that area. Or it could be cooking. It could be music.
Any discipline.
It could be a trade like carpentry or metalworking, or it could be being an electrician. It could be like you're becoming excellent at an area of activity where other people can watch you display this skill and acknowledge beauty in what you've been able to create through your agency. And there's a certain amount of freedom that comes from that, not just that gets attributed to you, but others by even, observing you do what you do. Okay? And also there's a freedom that comes with you playing a role or performing a function in a society. Like for example, there's a freedom that is associated with being a soldier. Or a shaman, or a priest, or of course it closes off other avenues. You know what I'm like, realizing yourself in a specific function or role, but people don't perceive it that way. I think there's a philosopher's name is Zizek, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he talks with a lot of tics. I think he's got Tourette syndrome or something like that. But what he does is he understands full well, like, sexual freedom is even gender freedom is incarnation of capitalistic freedom, where you can make yourself into anything you want to be. But not really. But the illusion of you being able to be anything you want is connected to your ability to be able to buy whatever it is you want. Right? So, like, you can go to the mall, nobody can tell you what kind of shoes you can buy or what kind of scarf or coat or... of course, all of these things are prefabricated for you. Like it's nothing new. There's nothing unique about what you're buying, but you pretend in your mind's eye there's something unique about what you've chosen to buy, and the various ensembles that you're able to put together with the mundane and the superficial shit that you've bought. But to us, that's the ultimate form of freedom, to be able to buy what you want in a mall. That's freedom.
So can one say the consumer programming is what percentage complete?
But here's the odd thing about it. They've done studies on this shit.
Yeah.
That the more choices that people have, the less free they feel.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know there used to be lots of talk about that amongst the Roman leaders in the Senate, where they were talking about how the slaves have more freedom than do because they're free, they don't have to make these tough choices. And I actually wanted to ask both of you, what do you guys think about slaves who didn't want to run off the plantation, or sharecroppers who didn't want to leave their old plantations? Like, where do you see that in terms of freedom? Their freedom to make that choice.
Shit, that is what it is. I mean, now they have their right as a living being to choose what they want. I'm not deciding any of my perspective based off of what the law is supposed to be, the so-called law of the land. Now, you have the right as a living being. Now, the thing is, this is where the hierarchy presents itself, though. This is where natural caste systems, I suspect, presents themselves, because now I have to acknowledge that I value myself on a higher resonance based off of the quality of life that I desire for me, mine. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's a different quality. But can we acknowledge it's a different quality, right?
What's a different quality? But say for instance, you are the head nigga on the plantation. Maybe you the black overseer, or maybe you the head, the number one bed buck, or maybe you were the female slave that popped out 12 slaves, and now you hold upper slave status on the plantation.
Okay.
Instead of running away and being a runaway slave, now you've lost your quote unquote hierarchical rank.
Okay.
Well, hey man, my view on it is, man, I'd rather be a servant in heaven than a king in hell. And but it's just a matter of perspective, what you perceive hell as. You know what I'm saying? So going with the Clive Barker movies, Hellraiser and shit, some motherfuckers think hell is heaven.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? The Cenobites they say angels to some and demons to others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know what reference I'm making, but that motherfucking lamentation puzzle, man, that's a hell of a thing, man. I ain't trying to fuck with them lamentations, man.
Leave it alone. You don't want that geometry.
Let them yahoos and them yakuus, man, do what they do. Them big head motherfuckers, let them do what they do, man. You know what I mean?
We even nowadays, we deal with that in many different ways. Even when you look at like human trafficking and pimping and hoeing, like, don't save them hoes because they run right back to the pimp, or they run back, even in regular relationships, when you're talking about dealing with abusers and stuff, you try to help women get away from their abuser, and then next thing you know, you fighting the dude, and then a week later she back with the motherfucker,
But that ain't your position to help. Shit, that ain't your position. That's her choice.
That's what I do. Look, you know what? I was gonna do a show about this shit. I don't know if I should, but that scene in the Mac and shit where old boy Pretty Tony come and tell him, man, nigga, you ain't no motherfucking pimp. You're
a rest haven for hoes.
You're a rest haven for hoes. You a rest haven for hoes, nigga. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Broke ass nigga. I forget. But the whole point is, old boy get mad as fuck
right
when his bitch chooses to somebody else.
There you go. Yeah.
So like I believe, like hey man, like the true pimp, you gotta let that, like the bitch
you gotta let her
she
go.
broke the stable, let the bitch go.
Yeah.
I remember UGK said a long time ago, I don't know what Pimp C, I don't forget who it was. You a pimp, she's a hoe, break the chain, let her go.
For real.
I forgot which one of them said it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was Bun or if it was Pimp. But
that sound like a bun. That sound like a bun lyric.
But whatever the case may be, you gotta let hey, she broke the stable. Let that bitch ride out to the sunset.
Okay, so that means that
I'm
you
talking
also
about
have to
as a
acknowledge-
group
as a
or
group,
individually.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about as a group. So that meant that one has to be strong enough to acknowledge when there's a plethora of hoes present.
That's what ergo the passport, bro. Like if she don't want to fuck with you. Because she done chose Zaddy or whatever, like all them divestors, man, fuck them bitches, man. That's how I perceive
Exactly.
it. If you want to run out there and go fuck with a white Chad or whatever, go ahead. Fuck them. But I mean, they lying anyway, because half of them got kids and shit any goddamn way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you think a white boy gonna take you and your bastard fucking
2, 3 babies?
Little rugrat scene? That's some shit you don't often see. I'm just kidding. Like, how often do you see a white boy with another motherfucker's kids and shit? You see
I
that
see niggas do
motherfucker
that
with
shit
his
all the
kids.
time. I see niggas do that shit all the time out here. Holy shit, cuz.
You see white boys with motherfucking
Nah,
black kids
I see black dudes with white children, cuz, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know what I'm saying? Like Shaq Nanny type shit, cuz, you know what I mean?
Man, I ain't seen too many white dudes, man, fucking around with motherfuckers with like trying to Brady Bunch a black chick, bro. I'm not no disrespect. I'm just saying I have not seen that, bro. I seen a motherfucker like that's my chick, like with my kids, but I ain't seen too many Brady Bunch motherfucking white dudes, man. Know what I'm saying? Like I'm just keeping it a buck, man. Like, but at the end of the day, you know, like you gotta let them go, man. Fuck them. Like if they want to be on some bullshit, fuck them. My whole thing is,
right.
I personally don't want to control no chick. If she can't, whether culturally, whatever the case may be, or individually, if you can't fuck with me, fuck you then. Because I know I'm a decent guy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if you can't fuck with me, there's a problem with you.
Right.
Because first of all, black men, man, some of the most progressive dudes as it pertains to gender relations anyway. We ain't trying to have bitches jump on their 1 foot and shit, like whatever you like. Niggas is like, damn, can you stop trying to motherfucker? Like niggas be eating wings at Hooters and shit. The chick running into Hooters and shit like, what you doing in this motherfucker?
It's
like,
titties in here.
Damn, shorty, you ain't see that video? You ain't see the video where like the chick came in and G-checked this dude? Like, nigga, you ain't here. He like, damn, I'm just trying to eat some Hooters and shit. or you know, like women playing passive aggressive games and shit because you didn't do what they want. I'm not to say white women don't do it. I'm pretty sure they do the same shit too. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. All this divorce shit came from white hoes. It didn't come from black women.
Yep.
Came from white hoes.
Yep.
But black women just hitch their wagon to the shit because, you know, they tell us, they say everything about what we do to imitate white dudes, but they just neglect and forget wholesale about the shit they do to imitate these white hoes.
I mean, but who's going to be the archetype for either group to imitate outside of pilgrims?
Bro. The only thing I can say is, bro, all I can say is, man, it's one thing to talk about the pathology of black men and how they fucking imitate and, you know, carry out white supremacy like Vector was talking about, like, you know, how you can be situated and seated in your own oppression and to recycle it and to refashion it for your own self. But to act as if, you know, black men were the only motherfuckers touched by this kind of psychological pathology, we're the only ones. Come on, nigga. That's
no, not
that's
at
some
all.
bullshit. I'm just sick and tired of hearing nationalists. To me, nationalists is like the angry Macs and shit. Like the angry pimps. You know what I'm saying? Like but you ain't mad at the chick. You mad at the nigga.
Yeah.
Right.
You mad at you so mad at the nigga. You ain't mad at the chick, you just mad. That's why I say they just like them motherfuckers, man. You can't even see how she is emblematizing or how she's carrying out white supremacy because you ain't supposed to see that.
Right.
You don't have a vision on that. You can't see it because to you it's non-manly.
But
it's
wait
unmanly.
a minute. But you also have and claim the ability to identify pattern phenomenon in their behavior and expressions in different parts of not only your nation but in the nation of others. So
hey, it's 3 hours in, man. I expect.
Yeah, you got it, Doc.
I was like, I was only gonna do an hour of this shit. You know what I'm saying? That's all I wanted to do was come in and impromptu do a little something because I ain't done something in so long. But
oh shit, let's mash out then. Shit, 3 hours in. Thanks for the sharpening as always. Respect, sir.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me up.
For sure, man.
Both of you
Appreciate y'all.
gentlemen.
Appreciate y'all, man. So yeah, it's time for me to go ahead and get some food in me, man, and take a chill pill, man. I'll be back probably not tomorrow. I don't know if I want to stay up late enough to watch this new Mandalorian shit, but I might do that, man. I want to see that. I want to see what happened with the mythosaur, man. You know what I mean? So anyway, man, y'all be good, man. I'll holler at y'all later, man, on the next time. Peace.